Hello, people. This is Comic Chat, aka Danny. I have my guest on today, Terrence, from the Tremaine Terrence channel on YouTube. Before we get started on today's topic, this is kind of very impromptu, but every week I try to put out polls, get feelers on how people that are following me, what do they think. I usually ask different questions and ranges. What's up, Dominican Scott? Appreciate it. Basically, the question, the poll I put on, I think for the past 2 days, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was a day, I'm not sure. Been under the weather with a bad cold. But the question is basically, there's a rumor going around. No, before I get started, this is your first time subscribing to my channel, please subscribe. I need your subscriberships because I'm trying to reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers before Father's Day, which is, I think, the third Sunday in June. Second, please hit the notification bell because I don't want you to miss any material that I upload, any content. I want you to make sure you be on top of it. So please hit the notification bell. And third, please give me a thumbs up and please leave any comments because I do read all your comments. I do respond to all your comments, and I try to make sure I check that every day to make sure that I don't miss anyone that writes me a comment. I want to respond to them because I think your comments is very important, and I use that sometimes to decide on what kind of content I'm going to talk about on my next and future uploads. Today is the question. The rumor is Henry Cavell, aka Superman, aka The Witcher, who we all love and all want to see come back to the DCU universe, has been rumored to be chosen or in talks to become the next Wolverine in Captain Marvel 2. Now, there are some people that are in uproar. I did this poll, like I said, 2 days ago. I think 56% of people said no, they don't want to see him. And 44%, if I'm not mistaken, I'm talking my head, say yes, they do want to see him. I'm going to leave that up probably till tomorrow this time to see whether or not it evens up or does it go one way or the other. My guest today, Terrence, is one that's saying no, he don't want to see Henry Cavill as Wolverine. I am of the mindset of yes, I don't mind seeing it. I think he can pull it off because if you watch The Witcher, he has kind of like that growl when he's talking. People, last night I was on, or maybe that was earlier today, but I think it was last night, or I can't remember, brain fog. But people saying he's too tall, he's too tall. Well, I went and found out. I guess how tall Hugh Jackman was. 6'2". Guess how tall Henry Cavill is. 6'1". So if Wolverine can pull it off being an inch higher, Hugh Jackman can pull it off being an inch higher, you can't use that argument that Wolverine needs to be shorter. Some stuff need to be comic accurate, but not all stuff. Before I go any further into it, I'm going to let Terrence talk about his opinion on it.
Yeah, I was in terms of Hugh Jackman, it was like, this dude is tall but when I saw him as the character, that went away because I'm like, he has the face of Wolverine, which is very important. And what I noticed with Henry Cavill, I'm like, he doesn't look like Wolverine facial wise, and I'm always very big on like, that face is important, because he looks really pretty, and like he looks like he should be playing somebody like Superman or somebody like that, and not so much Wolverine. So I'm like,
I'll give you that one. But my understanding is that this Wolverine is going to be more comic book based and has on that brown mask.
Right.
So that's not really going to be a factor because you done had how many Batmans? 4 or 5 Batmans. You done had several different. We had 2 Daredevils. Who else is mask? So a lot of that stuff is not going to matter with the mask. Now, when he take it off, anybody can grow those pork chops, sideburns that Wolverine wears, and I don't know how they would do the hair, but I think it can be done.
In terms of him wearing a mask, we know that's going to happen because Kevin Feige likes to make the characters look comic book accurate, and Logan often has his mask off when he's around the X-Men. He usually wears it like only when he goes out and about, but even then, like he will often go to like bars and stuff, and he's not wearing his mask. So when that mask come off, Henry Cavill is going to look really pretty as he tends to do, which for me will take me out of the feel of the character, which I feel will be distracting. Because like
Did he look
when
pretty
it
as
comes to him,
the Witcher?
no, I mean Henry Cavill is Wolverine.
No, I'm saying,
Like
did he look pretty when he played the character the Witcher?
I would say so. Like I mean, like he had like the long hair, but like his face though, like his face will always be Henry Cavill, and it's like when it comes to like DC or Marvel characters, there are a whole lot of characters that look pretty, in the way that Henry Cavill does with the jaw and the eyes and the way his nose is structured. Like he can play so many different characters that look like that. But when it comes to Wolverine, his stature is a certain way. His face is it's not ugly per se, but it's not pretty. It's like when you see him, like just from his face, he looks like a guy you don't want to mess with. Like Henry Cavill has that, but only because of his build, but he still comes across as a very pretty individual. And like I don't want that for Wolverine. Like in fact, this time around, I want him to be shorter. Even though he's an inch shorter than Hugh, like I think it's important to have Wolverine be shorter than all the other actors. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm saying, Danny, that he has to be 5'3" or anything like that. But Wolverine he's very short, and like all the other mutants, for the most part, they tower over him. So whatever height they make him, if they start off that tall, then I'm like, well, how tall would you have to make everybody else? Unless you're gonna do like tricks with the camera to shrink him, which is possible, but that would cost money. But I guess they have that too because it's Disney. But I feel like there are ways to make it less complicated if you just simply get someone that really fits that character and that has the acting chops to pull the character off. This way, even though we were accepting of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and many of us, we can't really see anyone else in that role, there have been, whether it be people on YouTube or people at conventions that look more like the character than even Hugh Jackman. So I've seen that it's possible. So I just think that Henry Cavill, he doesn't look much like Wolverine.
Okay. Um, I I will respect that assessment, but um, why I think he can pull it off. What comes to my mind, especially in Henry Cavill, is remember in Justice League whenever they resurrected him and he was at his monument and he said in clenched teeth that you won't let me live, you won't let me die. Do you bleed?
Right.
I could see that mask and I could see Wolverine saying something like that. Where I think he
Right.
could capture the essence and the spirits spirit of Wolverine. And I don't think that if he comes off in the if he can convince the audience in the first 5 minutes that hey, I'm a badass. He got the body motion of Wolverine. If he studies that, Wolverine kind of crouched down a little bit and kind of rugged. Put a 5 o'clock shadow on. I mean, I don't know. I can't rule it out because a lot of people, and I'm one of them, thought that no one was going to be better than Ben Affleck. Not Ben Affleck, but um, what's the guy that played Batman before him?
Talking about Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. I was like, Christian Bale is it. Christian Bale is the Batman. When I saw him in Dark Knight Rises, I was like, yeah, this is it. And I thought he was going to be the best one. But lo and behold, Ben Affleck, who no one, and I'm in that audience. When I first heard Ben Affleck was going, I was like, nah, he ain't going to pull it off. He can't do it. And shit. Right now, if I had to say who's the best Batman, Ben Affleck's coming out my mouth first because I don't know whether he studied it. I don't know exactly what he did, but to me, he convinced me that he was Batman.
So. And the reason for that is because unlike the other actors, he actually fully understands the character inside and out, which really makes all the difference in your performance. But I will tell you why, even though I feel like, that's a nice example and that's fair. I will tell you why I think it's a little bit different there, because as we have seen, me being 31 and you're a little bit older than me, Danny, so, but it's like see, we not that far off, but you definitely, have some more time on this planet than I have had. So, but you and I and many others have been exposed to many different actors who have played Batman, right? And a fair number of them at one point or another, it was like, you're not going to be able to do it, or this will always be my favorite one, no matter what. You got those people, depending on what decade you were born and that sort of a thing. But with the Batman character, it's not so much that he's easy to play. He's very difficult to play. You have to really get the right actor, and it's not really about can this person act, but can you be a good Batman and a Bruce Wayne? But in the case of Wolverine, it's like you can have someone like, Henry Cavill, who I think is a pretty good actor, and he's been improving and stuff like that. So, I definitely see him getting a little bit better as an actor as he continues to get more roles. But the Wolverine character, in terms of like his appearance and what is expected of him, is often very specific when it comes to comic books. Like with the Batman character, you have different iterations, and sure, they have a lot of similarities, but you can sort of tweak him in a way to where Wolverine is Wolverine. There's a certain expectation that comes with him, and it's like Hugh Jackman is like one of those rare people where it was like nah, but then when you see him, it's like, okay, he is tall, but like I was saying, he just fit. Like Henry Cavill, I feel, I'm not concerned about his acting, none of that stuff. And then how you mentioned the scene in Justice League, that's a good example. So that's not my concern. It's just I don't want to be taken out of the movie, because it's like when he has the costume on, I'm pretty sure that will look nice on him, and whatever one they want to use, the yellow and the blue, the brown and the black, the gray and the black, the all black, like whatever they want to use, I'm pretty sure he will make all of that look, awesome and intimidating. I have no doubt about that. But my thing is, like, when that mask comes off, which it will, I feel like that is going to be the whole, like, I have this feeling that I'm not going to buy him as this character, him being, because of his face, like he would have to win me over.
So your issue is that when he takes his mask off, everybody's going to see Superman and not Logan.
Not so much specifically, but that's a good way of putting it. I think that some individuals might feel that way. That I didn't really think of it like that, but that's pretty good that you mentioned that. But I think that if not that, it's just his. I feel like his prettiness, the way that his face is, would work against him in a way that I feel he would have to work even harder
so you don't
convince people that he's this character.
You don't think with the steps they do in CGI makeup, they can make him look more rugged, more animal-like? They could add, like I said, 6 o'clock shadow. They could add a little bit of canines to his, maybe a scar. Well, he can't have a scar because he heals. They could make him look more rugged.
Um, okay, that's something to think about. Like I'll say it like this. Let's say they're like, okay, yeah, say they announce tomorrow Henry Cavill. I'll be like, I mean, I wish him the best, but I don't know. And then say after the announcement, give it a couple months or whatever, and then they show us some test footage, and his hair is like Wolverine, and then like they said, maybe they did the whole canines, and they did something to his face, and then they cut his facial hair a certain way.
Yeah.
If they do that, then I feel like that would take away from my concerns, but it would have to be done in a very specific fashion, and
I,
like yeah.
I think they would do that because I'm very impressed. I don't know which company did it, but the Sonic. When people first saw the Sonic, I can't remember how Sonic looked when he first came out, but I remember you saying in one of our streams and other people saying that he looked terrible. So they kind of went back to the drawing board. I think that kind of resonated with in that industry. Look, we better listen to what these fans say, or we better get this right because if not, then we're going to hear stuff. So I definitely think that Henry Cavill already being in the comic book world, comic book movie world, he's going to have a special attention. Look, we got to get this right because Hugh Jackman is going to be a very hard act to follow. So we need to make sure we get the look right. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get the fighting style right because if we don't, then they know they're going to get called out now.
Um, okay, well, I'll have to address those separately. Like the first thing with with Sonic, like in terms of his look, I was like, well, I didn't hate it, and I got what they were trying to do, but I'm like, he don't really look like Sonic. But remember how I was telling you my issue was more so with how the movie itself looked. So when
Mm-hmm.
they actually went and fixed Sonic, I was like, okay, now that looks like Sonic, but I still had issues from the trailer. And then, as you know, I ended up enjoying the film. But my point is that with Sonic, because he is fully CGI,
Uh-huh.
you can do things in a way that won't really work in the same way with an actual real life person. Like there's only so much you can do, and you would have to do something specific. So it's not impossible, but that would just purely have to be a situation of where like you would have to convince me, like show me something and then I'll be moved. So it's not like, I'm in the corner with my arms crossed. It's just that with that kind of rumor or recommendation, I would pass on that. I'm like, nah, they don't seem like a good fit. Like usually when it comes to the casting of any comic book characters, I should have the reaction of like, oh, that is a good one right there. Like, I don't want to have no doubt. But he's on the one where not only do I doubt it, but I don't see it working until I'm proven otherwise for all the reasons that I just said. But naturally, I would hope that, he's good and I would wish him the best and stuff like that because I am a fan of his. But even though I'm a fan of his, Danny, as you know, I don't like to be biased. I like to be honest. So I'm just being honest with
Yeah. I mean, I hear that. Um, Work is calling me. Um, I'm still. I, I would have. First of all, I hope the rumor. Well, the fan of me wants to say, yeah. I hope the rumor is true. I want my cake and eat it too because I would like to see him as Wolverine, but I also want to see him come back and do a Man of Steel 2. I think he would be awesome in that. I think now that Witcher has been a success, I think he is going to use that as momentum to try and get back into DCU and say, look, man, let's go ahead and put this Man of Steel 2 down. People talking Brainiac. I really don't care about Brainiac as one of his villains. I would love to see, and I can't pronounce the name like you do, but I remember you telling me about this latest episode of Supergirl. I call him Mixoplex.
you.
That's
Yeah,
what I know
Mr.
from
Mitzik
Carson.
Pitalik.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Miss Pillick. I'll never be able to do that. But I that's he's always been one of my favorites ever since the Super Friends. Um, so that's what I want to see on the big screen. I think he'd be more interesting. But now I don't know whether or not if Now
Well,
since Crisis is over, it's kind of reset the canon, and now it looked like Mxyzptlk, whatever, is good. So I don't know whether or not that's gonna.
here's the thing with Mxyzptlk. Like his character, he's done bad things, but he has an innocence to him. Like he just like often just wants to play. And remember how I told you about the whole God Emperor Joker storyline? Like
Uh-huh.
that was one of the many storylines to show that, he could just get rid of everybody if he wanted to, but then he'd be lonely. He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to play around with people. Sometimes if they don't accept his friendship or they misunderstand his intentions or whatever, depending on the story, he can lash out, but that's not really what he wants to do per se. So, you can bend his character to be either way, and it would technically be accurate by countless stories. But the thing with Mxyzptlk is that most people don't know who he is, and if you like put him in Man of Steel 2, there is a chance that like the movie itself might have a really silly feel to it because of his character, and that can either work in their favor, that parents would want to take their kids because of, hey, okay, it's Superman, of course we're going, but the villain looks like he's fun, so maybe the kids would enjoy it. But I don't want that to somehow interfere with any sort of level of intensity that you would have. And knowing how writers like to do things, I feel like I would need to see how they would balance his character to where you can still have a compelling story and not just sacrifice that for, him doing something that would be considered circus tricks.
I got you. So based on what you've seen from Mxyzptlk, who would win against him and Thanos? They seem to have similar powers.
Oh. Here's the thing. Like if Thanos has the gauntlet, then he can just snap his fingers
I'm
and
saying,
get
does it
rid of him.
Mxyzptlk have the same power too?
He does, but it's like he doesn't need the gauntlet. So like if
I know.
Thanos,
I'm saying Thanos with the gauntlet
yeah,
versus Mxyzptlk.
right.
Who is the more
Like
powerful?
well, in raw form, Mxyzptlk is way more powerful just in raw form. So like in the context of the comics, since Thanos hasn't used 100% of the gauntlet's power, it's a little bit difficult to say. But even if we were to entertain that he would use 100% of the power, which it seems like he might be able to handle it, because I've seen him go as much as 50%, but another 50% jump is kind of a bit much. So let's just say that he does use 100%. Then Mxyzptlk would just use 100% of his power, which he's never had to do because usually when he comes across most characters, they don't have the ability to just erase all of reality in the entire universe. So he would be a little bit perplexed to see something like a gauntlet. Like he would try to be like, well, what is that? Is that an item? And he would kind of maybe laugh at Thanos because he feels that he needs to, use an item for him to even be anywhere near on what Mxyzptlk can do naturally. So realistically, I can tell you that what you probably would get is that they would cancel each other out only in the instance of trying to wipe out one another. But let's just say if Thanos uses only a small portion of his power and Mxyzptlk uses all of his power, at that point he would be able to get rid of Thanos because that would be an instance of Thanos making a mistake and not understanding that he can't just do him in the way that he would be able to do most people in his universe. So that would be Thanos losing purely off of making a mistake.
I
But
got you.
if Mxyzptlk were to concentrate his power on the reality pertaining to Thanos's gauntlet, then he could remove the gauntlet and then remove Thanos. It would be like a step by step kind of thing. So that's kind of how I would picture that going,
Okay.
if that makes any sense.
Well, I'm going to save that question because that's kind of going into what I'm doing tomorrow night at 9. I sent you the question. Did you get it?
Yeah.
So we're going to stop talking now and then continue this tomorrow because
Right.
that's gonna affect what I was initially thinking. But I'm glad I got clarification on that.
Yeah. It's yeah. We definitely gonna stop, but I'm just saying that
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I just want to make. I don't want to ruin it because tomorrow when we come on at 9, then I'm gonna let me and you
yeah,
go. You might blow
yeah,
some
because
people.
like you said, you wanted to you know have the person back up their opinion, and I feel that in the way that I'm able to break stuff down based off of the knowledge that I have, I feel is very important in terms of explaining one's point. So
I got
yeah.
you. Gonna take some questions. You know that Thrive say, I hope this new Batman never takes his mask off. You know that Thrive. I'm just gonna ask you this question. So you want to go to a Batman movie, and I guess you want to be like your icon. I see here you got Judge Dredd on there, like the second Judge Dredd that never took his helmet off. I don't want to see a Batman like that. It might be interesting, it might be cool if he's kicking ass the whole 2 hours, however long it is, but I don't think I want to see that. They got to break up. I don't want to see some action from the 5 minute mark to the 200 minute mark. I don't want to see that. I hope
Well,
they don't do that, but
um,
and I don't think they're gonna do that.
yeah,
Uh,
no. If I mean, like I said, Danny, I could be terribly wrong, but based upon the set photos that I've seen and what they're saying about him being more detective oriented, because a lot of people they don't realize that Batman, his intellect would make Sherlock Holmes sit down and take some notes. Like, dang, I don't, dang, I'm nothing compared to this dude. Like, that's how smart he is. He's the world's greatest detective for a reason. So this film centered around that. I'm just like, well, it sounds like you're talking about the long Halloween, but I don't know how much of that you're going to use and what you're going to mix with other things. I have to really wait and see. But just off of that, I'm like, we ain't going to get the whole, him fighting, the whole time and not removing his mask. That doesn't make any sense because
no,
Batman always takes off his mask. He goes home, he interacts with Alfred, Dick Grayson, he goes to parties, he conducts business at Wayne Tower, so there's no way that they're not going to have, especially an actor like Robert Pattinson,
yeah,
show his face. Like they're gonna
I
make sure you see him.
yeah, I got the follow up question. He said no, Bruce Wayne was seeing that too much, just Batman hunting down villains, stuff like that. Yeah, I think we're gonna see a combination of them both. We're gonna have to see like Terrence said, see him as Bruce Wayne and using some of his detective. We saw a little bit of that in Batman v Superman when he went to Lex's place and was able to download that those files and stuff from Lex's computer that Wonder Woman stole. And
That's
prior to
right.
that, we also saw him with some kind of fight. I would like to know what he told that guy that made the guy catch a
Well,
second win and kick the other guy's ass. But then he was able to clone the other guy's phone and get information off of there. So we've seen him get information and pertinent stuff in Bruce Wayne for him. So
that's very true. But the difference between the way that they're describing this time around is that the other Batman films they have elements of that, but it's not like the whole thing. It's just more like bits and pieces because usually it's just like you get the action and then that's sprinkled in there. But this time around, it's going to be mostly detective with the action mixed in. So that's
yeah,
very different from anything that we've seen from a live action Batman.
yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, the cheesy 1960 Batman showed more the detective side of Batman
That's right.
than the movies we see now. And maybe no, I think Michael Keaton Batman showed more detective skills than the other Batman, if I remember correctly.
Well, um, in terms of Adam West, like if you combine up how long, like how much time is put into that series, that would eclipse Michael Keaton's 2 hours or 4 hours if you want to do Batman and Batman Returns, because in the Adam West show, it started off with him, talking and looking into things, going to the back computer all the time before he went out and actually dealt with the criminals. So I think that this this plot that they're going into for the movie is going to be really sophisticated, and it seems to be that it's going to pull the audience in to where they're thinking with Batman as if they're going to help him solve the crimes, like in a whole who done it kind of situation, which requires the audience to think. And usually when you're watching Batman movies, you're not really thinking as much as you are cheering because he's, doing the stuff on the bike and the Batmobile and kicking ass and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, did you happen to see? Well, it depends on. I like to see the details first before I endorse Cavell. We all want to see it. That's what I said earlier. If you just not join us, I would like to see the trailers, or I like to see him in the Wolverine get up. There are some out there with him with the claws on there. Like I don't know whether they were superimposed or something that he put on there. I'm trying to find that now. But I'm one that's for it. Whether or not he can pull it off, I don't know. I think he can. Like I said, I was on a stream last night, and the guy was saying, some of the people were saying on the chat, he's too tall. He's too tall. Well, he's shorter than Hugh Jackman was. So, and
Right.
earlier Terrence said that he would like for him to be shorter than the actual characters he's interacting with. Now, we got to realize this is not an X-Men movie. This is a Captain Marvel movie. So, whether or not
Well,
that's gonna go ahead.
well, I was just thinking, like, no matter where you put Wolverine, like most of the time, like if you look at him in Marvel comics in the context of other Marvel characters, Danny, like he tends to be shorter than most of them. Like this is a very short but heavily muscled individual, like to where you're just like, man, like
Yeah, no doubt. Because he
yeah,
weighs about 400 pounds.
yeah, good. Like, well, I
Yeah,
mean, like
imagine.
they say that his status in the comics is 5'3", 200 pounds, and it's like 200 pounds is like, especially if it's muscle, is still big for somebody that's 6 feet. So if it's somebody that's 5'3", because the
Yeah.
stature is smaller, the width is going to be wider, and it gives the appearance that the person is heavier than they are. But it's like when your body is shorter, it's more compact. When you're taller, the muscles stretch out because you've got a longer body. So somebody like Captain Marvel, she should be towering over Wolverine. Like she should be able to look down on my boy. And granted, that would have a certain reaction to the audience. Like, don't you dare talk to my boy like that, Captain Marvel. Don't get chopped up.
Yeah, I remember in the Wolverine, I can't remember which one it was. When he got on the when he sat on the motorcycle, it went
Mm,
down considerably. And the
right,
guy said, "Man, how heavy are you?" And he said something kind of. I know the adamantium adds about. I thought it was close to almost 200 pounds to his whole frame. I always
right,
thought
right,
so. I know that he was. I knew that he was shorter, but much heavier than what he looks because the
right.
adamantium was heavy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely true. And it's like, you know, realistically, the way that they give fictional characters stats in terms of their weight is extremely incorrect, Danny. Like a good example would be Ryu and Ken from the Street Fighter games. They're
uh-huh.
built at anywhere from 150 to 160. I'm like, with that kind of build, there's no way that they're 150 to 160. They would
Yeah.
have to be anywhere from 180 to 200 pounds. Like that's
Uh-huh.
much more realistic. You know what I mean? So, um, whenever they're doing these kinds of adaptations, what I say is like, okay, if they're saying that a character is stupid tall, then what you do is you just find somebody that's tall. Something more reasonable in terms of what would be considered tall in reality. Like, okay, this dude's a giant. Like, so you find somebody like that. If it's a character that's said to be short or really short, then you either can get somebody that's short, or you just try to make it to where this character is not the tallest person in the movie if this is supposed to be a smaller stature person. If you wish to be, more faithful to the character, because that's what we haven't seen from Wolverine. We haven't seen the smaller stature tank beast mode Wolverine. Like that would be different. And Kevin Feige, he likes to do things differently, and he does like to present the characters in the way that they've been presented in the comics. So I am sure that no matter who he goes with, I'm pretty sure he is going to be a good pick, even if it goes with Cavill, even though I'm against that because I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling that. But if he feels comfortable with that, then I'll go, okay, Kevin Feige, show me something. Because I know you're going to do something. And sure enough, they'll show him. And then I might be like, Danny, he looks good as the character. That's what I want to tell you. I want to be able to change my position, because Wolverine is one of my favorite overall comic book characters. So, I want the best for him. I don't want none of this stuff to turn out bad. None of it.
Well, I think you're going to say that if he's chosen, because I have complete utter faith in Kevin Feige. I don't know how they're going to make it work. They could put let the main characters be on a higher level floor than the other one, maybe 4 or 5 inches. I don't know how they're going to do it, but
right. Well,
and then maybe when
how old is Henry Cavill? Because
Henry Cavill's like 47. I think.
okay. The reason why I brought that up is because it is just a rumor. There's no Kevin Feige didn't say, yeah, this is happening, so it's just a rumor. But I have a feeling that that's going to play a factor for him possibly not getting picked. And the reason why I say that is the X-Men being introduced for the first time in the MCU. Their history and their lore is so prevalent that you would need to have actors and actresses that can be around for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? So Henry being 40, say if Kevin's like, hey, 10 years, okay, he would be 50, and then say if he wants to extend that, my boy would be approaching 60. Like, so I think that his age might be close to a disqualifying factor. I'm picturing Kevin Feige going more with somebody that's in mid 20s, maybe early 30s at the latest. That's what I'm picturing.
You might be right. Before I say yes, you are right, I'm going to check right now on my trusty phone and see how old in Henry Cavill. I know we're looking up Ben Affleck and we're looking up Scott Adkins earlier, so
Right.
I may be adding those. How old is Henry Cavill?
And while you looking that up, I wanted to add too that that's probably the only reason why Kevin Feige did not go with Wesley Snipes.
He's
as Blade.
36.
36. Okay. I feel like he would probably fall in that middle. Probably, I guess it would depend on how young
he could do it another 10 years. I make him 46.
Right. Yeah, that could. I feel like he's right there on the brink to where it's like, okay, you a little safe, but they would have to move on it, because the more and more time, and then he's in The Witcher, and like if the thing with Warner Brothers is like, say if they still want him as Superman, their projects specifically for that character on the big screen are so far in between that he might have enough room to pull off, Wolverine, because his Superman schedule was not necessarily going to be as frequent as, like, say, The Witcher, or if he becomes Wolverine, and that works out that he's going to be doing that for like the next 10 years, sort of a thing. But I think that's why, Wesley Snipes didn't get picked as Blade, because of his age. I think, he wanted to go with someone a little bit younger, someone of, acting talent like Mahershala Ali. I feel like Kevin Feige has a pattern when it comes to the way he selects his actors and actresses, and why. He tends to try to go after, whether it be good caliber actors or someone that he may feel is perfect for that role specifically. Like maybe outside of that, you're trash, but
Yeah, but that
you
don't
can
make
pull this
sense
off.
because Mahershala Ali is 46.
Right. Yeah. Now
Wesley Snipes is how old?
let's see how old Snipes is. I know he ain't that far off from Mahershala because I didn't think Mahershala was that old. I thought he was a little bit younger than that.
Yeah, I
But
just looked it up.
but Mahershala looks young. I mean, we know black don't crack most of the time here. So there's
Yeah,
that.
that's what they say. He's
So
57, so he's 11 years older.
oh shoot, yeah, that's oof, damn,
Yeah, I just hope. I
yeah,
think sometimes
that's
when you get an actor, no matter what let's say like decrepit, like there was a argument, not argument, but a discussion I had earlier. Indiana Jones, and I don't want to see Picard on any more Star Trek. That's not why I'm not watching Picard now, because I don't want to see Picard as Professor X because he looks too old. His age has caught up with him.
right,
I'm not saying he's not a brilliant actor. I think 10 years ago when he first came out, he was the right man for the job. He looked like Professor X. He had that
yeah,
same vigor. But when I see him on Picard, his age has definitely caught up with him. He doesn't look the same. I don't care how much makeup you put on him. He looks frail. So I don't want to
right,
see him as Professor X because I've never seen Professor X in the comic books look frail. So I can't think of a
right,
younger version of Professor X, the
yeah.
actor name. But that's who I would hitch my wagon to and say, look, man, bring us home because that guy, he's still young.
You talking about James McAvoy?
I think James McAvoy got to be in his 30s. So
Yeah, yeah. That I would be okay with that, but Kevin Feige, he likes to pick his own actors, and like the Fox stuff, especially with how Dark Phoenix did. We don't know how New Mutants is going to turn out.
he's
Kevin
40.
Feige likes to distance himself from anything that he didn't have his hand in,
I
because
understand that, but there are
yeah,
always exceptions to the rule.
that
You're gonna be
that's
hard.
true.
You're gonna be hard pressed to find a better Magneto and a better Professor X,
Oh
unless you're gonna totally reboot like we were talking earlier. Now the same way Mahershala Ali called, the information I got, the rumors that I heard, is that he made a call to James Feige and said, "Look, man, I'm excited about what you're doing, and I want to play Blade, blah, blah, blah." That's what I heard happen, pretty much in a nutshell.
yeah,
And he said, "Man, we got to take this because he's an Oscar winning actor. So let's bring him in. Let's do this. How about if Denzel Washington and the guy that plays Moff Gideon, I don't know if he win Oscars, but I know Denzel don't win a couple.
yeah,
They want to be that. And they write a story that makes sense because you can't keep. I've heard people say in different conversations they're tired of seeing origin stories. So why we want to keep seeing Magneto go through the same concentration camp over and over and over?
you don't have
Just
to
to get
show it.
to I know we don't, but I'm saying why not do something totally different instead of him going through a concentration camp? The
Well,
idea I use, I'm not saying my idea is the best because it could be something better, but we do a different flavor and he goes through the 60s and he sees his parents get hung at an early age and it's traumatic. And you know that traumatic stuff is what activates the mutant gene. And I'm just saying that just
I
for
mean,
that.
but you don't have to show it though. Like a good example of that would be Spider-Man: Homecoming. They didn't show any of that same origin stuff as Sony did, and it still felt different. You could do that same thing
They could,
with Magneto and Charles Xavier.
but I heard
You could,
people,
yeah.
a lot of people don't like the young May. I've been heard be referred to as hot in the pants or whore. She's holding. I heard that on different
Oh
channels.
yeah, she looks really good. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn, Aunt May. Like,
but people
but
don't. I don't heard people. So it's like you can't have it both ways. They're tired of seeing the Uncle Ben thing that we've seen that Spider Man does, but then when they do something different, oh, that's not my Spider Man. He's not doing this, and where's Uncle Ben?
oh,
I mean, so I don't understand it.
but to be fair though, most people were on board with it. Otherwise, that would have just fell down the drain. I mean, there have
I've
been
I've heard a lot of people complain about the Aunt May thing. Just I
well,
think
yeah, but that's only like that's only one area though. it still does not change my point of the fact that they decided not to show his origins, and that
Yeah.
movie made over $800 million.
Yeah, I'm making that point. But then there are other people to add on to the point is saying that it's not the Spider-Man because everybody is comparing him to Iron Man Jr.
Okay, and then
channel and several other, that's what Spider-Man in the comic books figured out his own problems.
Okay, and I've always responded to that with facts from the comics. It's like, first of all, the way that they're explaining it is wrong. First of all, like in the comics in Civil War, which they show in the movie, this dude is fascinated by Tony Stark. He views Tony Stark as his idol. In the context of the Civil War storyline, when Spider-Man realizes that Tony is just this asshole and he's being controlled by the government, he's not really thinking for himself. He decides that he wants to join Captain America, and Iron Man tries to murder him. And then he almost succeeds, and then the Punisher saves him and takes him to Captain America's side. So the movies, all they did was stretch something that actually happened in the comic books. So really, what humans should be saying, the ones that do have a problem with it, is that I like that he had a dynamic with Tony, but they don't need to keep showing that as if that's the only thing that's connected to Spider-Man. That really should have been, you show that in Civil War, Homecoming, and then by Far From Home, he's, gone on and done his own thing, because that's what happens in the comic books, but they found a way to extend it. So that's where those changes come from the comics to the movies.
People complain that they give him too much power with those glasses that can control all that crazy stuff. So,
well,
I hear what you're saying.
Because, okay, in terms of the glasses, I'll say this. Something initially seems like too much power, but what they're not factoring in is that there are other characters in the Marvel universe that would make that seem like the cell phone that I'm holding in my hand right now. Like just nothing about nothing. Like whenever something is presented, it has to seem impressive, but it ceases to be as impressive once they show you other things. So I've always had the whole attitude, for plenty of individuals that don't read the comics, I tell them, wait and see. You ain't seen nothing yet. You think Thanos is bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. They haven't even begun to give you extremely epic Marvel stuff. You will see. So I just be letting them know, Danny. I'm like, man, just sit back and wait. I mean, we could be wrong. It's just speculation, but Kevin Feige does like to pull from the comics, and then he kind of flips it on his head and does stuff. So sometimes I don't know what he's gonna do until I see a trailer. Like, oh, that's not even a storyline, Danny, or that's like 3 different storylines. Like, what the hell is this? It could be something like that.
Yeah. Okay. United Thrive said Cavell would be better off as Dr. Doom. I can see that. Dr. Doom was tall in stature, powerful.
No.
Okay. All right.
No. I would rather see him as Wolverine, Danny.
He had the mask on the whole time. So the features wouldn't matter if you're arguing.
No. Let me explain my position on why I said no so quickly. Okay. I would rather see him as Wolverine, and you heard what I just said about that. So think about that for a second. I would rather see him as Wolverine because Henry Cavill, while I think he has become a good actor, there's a certain type of charisma and craziness that comes with Dr. Doom, and I don't believe for the second at this moment in time that he can pull that off. I'm much more willing to believe that he can do Wolverine before he can pull off Victor Von Doom. I'm just saying that right now.
The guy that played Victor Von Doom in the first, did you think he was good? I'm not talking
Julian McMahon.
Yeah.
I liked him as that character, but the only problem is that his acting and his talent was not supplemented with good writing. So I felt that that was really one of those situations that I would call unfortunate. I'm like, it kind of pissed me off because I'm like, yo, if he would have had good writing to work with, he had the voice, He had the gestures, like it was there. It was there, and the writing just butchered it and just made this man look as though to where people should be questioning not only his acting ability, but if he was even the right pick. But I saw Doctor Doom in him, but it was compromised by the bad writing. But the bad writing did not blind me to the fact that he was a good pick. He just got put in a very bad movie.
Yeah, I think the guy that plays Doctor Strange would be a good Doctor Doom.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Okay. I that wouldn't be one of my choices,
I see
but
him with the arrogance, I'm saying, and the accent.
right.
Also, I'm seeing I think his name is Liv Schreiber, the guy that played the second Sabretooth.
Oh yeah, he was perfect as Sabretooth. That was ridiculous. Holy crap. But yeah. Oh, okay, Danny. I can see Benedict Cumberbatch. That to me, that's actually significantly better than Henry Cavill, in my opinion. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see it. And Liev Schreiber, you're saying you could see him as
Doom
as well?
Like he got the aggression part of Doom. I don't know so much about the statesman Doom, because Doom thinks he's like royalty, but the aggression and mean side, I can see it.
Okay, I'll say this then. In terms of Liev Schreiber as Doctor Doom, like you said, you mentioned the aggression. Okay, I would be curious to see if he could pull it off, but it would be like what I would do if I were Kevin Feige, right? First, I would give him like a little cameo just to see how he works, and it would be something to where it would emphasize his charisma, his ability to be aggressive, his ability to somehow charm the audience at the same time while making them a little terrified of him. If you can pull that off in a 10-minute scene that I give you, then I just give you a bunch of material after that.
Yeah. That's smart. Dominican Scott said Keaton and Ben are my two favorite. I agree with you.
Yeah, those are
no Bale and Ben.
Okay, yeah. I agree with that too. It's like as long as you don't say George Clooney, then we're good.
Hell no.
Like as long as you don't say that, we are
put
good.
Him ahead of Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer was my.
Oh dang, Danny!
I didn't like Val Kilmer Batman, man.
What happened, Danny? I still don't understand it, man. Like I got you, but man,
I'm telling you, people, you may say I'm crazy, but to me, Arnold Schwarzenegger saved Batman and Robin. I like that. I like that version of Mr. Freeze.
Danny, I feel like I would be okay with you liking Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, but when you said that last part that he saved the movie is like
that was the only bright spot in that movie. Tell me what else.
I can get on that because like when you say save it, I'm thinking like, oh, what about the fact that it's something that shouldn't even happen. I didn't even think it was possible until it happened. Like that movie put a stain on Batman to where people didn't want to touch my boy anymore. It was like, well, we can't do Batman for like another 30 years. It wasn't.
They did that for the wrong reason. During that time, George Clooney was like one of the hottest actors. I remember Joel Schumacher. Didn't Joel Schumacher make that movie? I remember.
I believe so. I think he did Forever as well.
Ooh, I could see George Clooney as Batman. Ooh, it's looking. I remember that interview, and I was like, George Clooney might can pull off Bruce Wayne, but there ain't no way I'm gonna believe
he didn't even do that right.
Man, and then like you said, Batman. He didn't change his voice. He was gruff. I mean, the same.
Man, it was just,
don't leave home without it. 2 million, 3 million. Oh man.
It's nothing about him. It was like, to me, that movie was like you went to George Clooney's house and you started the camera and he didn't even know he was being filmed. Like there was no acting involved. I'm like, you're not good as Bruce. You're not good as Batman. You don't look good in the suit. Your suit looks stupid with the exception of that one at the end. I thought that silver get up, like I was like, okay, that's dope. I like how that one looked.
The eye suit.
Yeah, I was like, now that looks cool, especially when he was with Batgirl and Robin. I'm like,
Yeah,
the way that looks at night, I'm like, all right, I'll give you some points there. Too bad you
yeah,
messed up the rest of the movie, but
yeah. DQ said he was. I was to split an idea that he was too tall. I use Jackman as an example. Okay.
okay. Well, I, I can't stress enough, Danny. Like, I mean, you heard all the points I made, but I'm like, if I'm really thinking that Kevin Feige is going to make him look, whoever gets the role is like he's going to do what he can to make him stand out from Hugh Jackman because you don't have to do better than someone else. That should never be the goal. What you should be aiming for is doing a good job and cementing yourself as someone that people like as that character. Because if you try to outdo somebody else, your head is not in the creative space that it should be. You should only focus on what you're doing, the project at hand. You don't have to ignore what somebody else did,
Yeah.
but don't try to go, oh, I'm gonna pattern myself after it or I have to do better. No, you don't. You just have to be good. Like when I see whoever plays Wolverine, I'm not gonna be thinking like, oh, well, you didn't do as good as Hugh Jackman. The only reason I would say that is if I truly believed wholeheartedly that Wolverine is awful. That is the only time that I would say it like that. Because I want to be able to say, you know what, Danny, you Jackman, he definitely killed it. But this dude, he has his own swag, he has his own flavor, and
That
it's
same thing is being
respectable.
said about Heath Ledger Joker and Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
There you go. It is a civil conversation. You got people like some like Joaquin better, some like Heath better, but the general understanding is like, hey man, you like Joaquin better? I ain't got nothing to say against that. You like Heath? It's like it's a respect thing because they're two different levels of greatness. It's
Yep,
not so much that one has to necessarily be better than the other, but because they both killed it, like regardless of if the person I'm talking to or not agrees with me, it doesn't matter. It's like I understand as to why they have their opinion on this other actor.
agree.
That's what
I
I
agree.
want.
1,000%. David DQ said, "Yeah, Radcliffe wouldn't make a good movie for that reason." I keep hearing that about Daniel Radcliffe want to be Wolverine. He needs to stay in his
What?
lane. I do not see Harry Potter putting on claws and adamantium. I don't see that. I don't think that would
Um.
totally
Okay.
wrong. I don't see it.
Oh my. Okay, Danny. That should really threw me off. Okay, Daniel Radcliffe, outside of Harry Potter, I've seen some of the films. I remember one he was like a detective, and then he was like he's doing the whole undercover Nazi thing to stop some Nazis that were killing people and stuff like that. And he was great in that movie. I was like, dang, Daniel, like, all right, I see you. Like that was my way of being able to see his true acting talent beyond the character that he was playing for like 10 years or whatever it was. So, but that would be another situation to where I'm like, he doesn't look like him. I'm not talking about like, sure you could build him up. I mean, but his face, like I'm not convinced. That to me that seems to be an even worse choice than Henry Cavill. And I might be able to argue that Daniel Radcliffe's acting potential is higher than Henry Cavill's from what I've seen, but I still don't like that though.
Yeah, I don't either. Let me go down these questions because we getting really behind on that. Ray Park as Wolverine. I can see that because Ray Park's not tall, but I don't know how old Ray Park is. Ray Park, I think he's mid 40s, early 50s, maybe now. And last time I saw him, he had gained a considerable amount of weight. He doesn't look as lean and slim as he was when he was Darth Maul.
Um, well, I mean, he would if they casted him, man, he dropped that so quick, and we're gonna be seeing the pictures like remember before, and now he's Wolverine, and we just gonna be losing our minds and stuff. And he, like, I
He
remember
definitely
when he
will
was
be a
playing
different
Toad. You
Wolverine.
remember when he was Toad in X-Men One?
Huh?
You remember when he was Toad in X-Men One, Ray Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm picturing him with the hair and stuff like that. That's a maybe. But I'll chalk it up to I'm intrigued by that. Put it like that.
Let's see. He's 45.
Yeah, that's cutting it like a little bit like past the line, but
You said DQ
because
said
it
shoot
could.
the cool Maul. Yeah, he was awesome as Maul. He
Oh
gonna hang
yeah,
his hat the rest of his life.
that was the best part of that movie. I didn't even like that movie, but man, Darth Maul, that's the only thing that I would watch that for. I would skip to the Darth Maul scenes, which is all of like 10 minutes. But you
They should
know,
have made that longer
yeah.
fights.
They should have. I mean, I didn't like how the fight ended. I thought it was very stupid. I mean, I was like, this is no, no, no. But the fight itself, until it got to the end, I was like, all right, because I'm like, you can have somebody lose, but you need to write it better than that. You ain't gonna have me believe somebody's down in a well, and then you watch them flip, you watch them use the force and land, and then you get chopped in half. I'm like, that's terrible. He should have been able to. He should have been able to slice
It
him
didn't make
before he would have
sense
been able to land.
because the same way that Anakin had the low ground, when he told Anakin, "I have the high ground," so Maul had the high ground.
He
So
had the high ground,
yeah.
Danny.
So how in the world, if he had the high ground, he could defeat Anakin, who's supposed to be a stronger Jedi or Sith than Maul, but he's able to defeat? So that didn't make
Yeah.
sense.
But I do agree though. I think it should have been longer because it was just so
Fight
epic.
scene with him and Obi-Wan in that
Whew,
little room, and that was
man,
tight. That was tight.
that was tight. Danny, the music too. When he told them go and they're like, "We'll take the long way," and it was like, din, 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 and it like I was like, man, Danny.
I saw him ignite that second saber. I was like, oh hell,
Oh man,
to
everybody lost their mind, Danny. If they were asleep during that movie, they woke up for that part. I'm telling you now.
yeah, I don't know
But
what it is. Players light swords is hell, boy.
Ooh, man, and the fact that he was taking on Qui-Gon, who was said to be almost on the level of Yoda. So that's ridiculous. And then he was taking on Obi-Wan, who, as we know, had the potential, and then
Yeah.
we saw what he ended up being later. So I'm like,
So,
you're
I'm trying to
fighting.
figure. I wonder who would win between Mace Windu and Yoda. Because
Oh, Yoda will win. Yoda will win because
Mace beat the Emperor now.
he did, but see, I don't think it's as simple as that scene might appear because remember, if you notice, like when they got to the window,
Uh-huh.
Darth Sidious, he was kind of looking towards the door and shit, like he was expecting Anakin to come, and it was right at the perfect moment where he was like, Anakin, Anakin. I feel like he was putting on a show because if Darth Sidious say would have beat him, how would you have the defense of like, oh, the Jedi are striking out at me? You don't have that angle. So I feel like it was a little,
Yeah.
sure, Mace was holding his own, but at the same time, I wonder how much was it him like holding his own versus Darth Sidious allowed
You're right.
specific things to happen.
But when I read books, they say that only two people in the whole Jedi Order know Mace Windu fighting style.
Mm-hmm.
Because um, Yoda practices style 2 or 3, whatever he masters. I think it's like 6 different Jedi fighting styles. And then Mace Windu's is the 7th, the Vipad or something like that. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But
Right.
from what I've read and what I understand and research is that he only taught one Padawan that style because it taps so much into the dark side. And if you don't have complete control over your light side part or control over your fighting and let it get the best of you, it will consume you. So
Right.
he only taught it to one Padawan that he felt could control it. So
Right.
if you never seen that fighting style, how could you master it?
Well, in terms the fact that Darth Sidious is a Sith Lord, like his whole advantage over even the Masters of the Jedi is just it's ridiculous. I mean, look at what he was able to do to Luke Skywalker. I mean, we saw that Luke was able to beat his dad at the end of Return of the Jedi, and Darth Sidious took him out like he was a chump, Danny, like just with ease. He wasn't even trying. And then Darth Vader had to save his son by tossing Darth Sidious over the balcony. So if he can take out Luke, who was able to beat Darth Vader, and we know how Vader is, and for Luke to be more powerful than his father, it's like that's a whole other level of power. So it leads
Yeah,
me
but
to
he used
believe
it
that
as
by
like,
dealing with the with Mace, that it wouldn't be nowhere near on that level.
but he used
You know,
force lightning for Luke. He didn't out lightsaber do. He did not duel him with lightsaber because
that's true. Now because you said that, I will say this. Now he didn't out lightsaber him, but I still am led to believe how much of that was Mace, doing that, and how much did Darth Sidious allow for the sake of his plan of manipulating Anakin? Because that was a huge turning point in that movie. And
yeah,
that timing, Danny, it was too perfect. Now
yeah,
I'm not saying, Danny, I want you to understand, I'm not saying I'm right. It was just me analyzing that scene, and it
right.
seemed too convenient, if that makes any sense.
That's a very valid point. I'm not mad at that. That makes perfectly good sense what you're saying. And now when I recollect, I can see what you're saying. So you may be absolutely right on that. That is a very good point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those things, because Danny, man, I be thinking, boy, like, it just,
Who's this? Boring. Okay.
hey, keep it to yourself. But no.
Yeah,
That
he
human probably
always
trolls.
trolls me. I don't know who he is. Don't even matter.
But you know, before I forget, I wanted to say, because I remember you were saying earlier about if the person can still, like if they still look a certain way, right? You can essentially cast them in a role. But here's the thing, though, Danny. I was thinking a person, they can look young, right?
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that their physical capabilities will be up to par with necessarily how young they might look. So, when a person gets older, that becomes more of a thing to where, you naturally will get slower and stuff like that. It won't be as crisp as it was when you were younger, right? So I think that may be one of the reasons as to why they tend to go with younger actors, because it's like somebody could look young, but they're focused on the age. Like, we don't know what's going to break down, how long you're going to be able to keep doing it, as to where, sure, stuff can happen with younger people, but it's less of a concern, and it's just the whole longevity of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. DQ says, yeah, though, don't see why they gush over Tony. Man, I like Tony Stark. He was not the Tony Stark we saw in the movies is not the Tony Stark in the comic books. That's what
Hmm.
I've been telling people in different streams, that in the comic books, Tony Stark was a raving alcoholic. Um, they didn't do that, I guess, because the actor that played Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., had the same problem, so it probably wouldn't have been beneficial to do that. But I was sad when Tony died. I didn't want him to die, and I know it was necessary to drive the story, but
Uh,
and I know it was necessary that Marvel was tired of paying him that exorbitant amount of money they was paying him. But I didn't want. I wanted him to make it. I would want somebody else to die. Wasn't too happy
right.
when Black Widow died either. But again, it was necessary to drive the story. Curtis YZ said Terrence just made the Iron Man Spider Man duo make a lot of sense. I respect that adaptation. Yeah, bro, man, Terrence is on point. That's why I invite him, man, because he tells me and shows me a lot of different points of view I didn't think of. So
Um,
glad.
I was gonna say, Danny, that Iron Man, though, in the first Iron Man movie, and even in the second one, Danny, they did show him drinking quite a bit. Like, if you actually look, like, because there's a difference between,
The
like, in
only
the
time
comics,
I
how
ever
they,
seen him drink is when he was demonstrating that Jericho. And
right, but I mean, we had other scenes where when he would talk to the Avengers, he was pouring himself some alcohol. Like, I think the big difference is that in the comics, they had a whole entire storyline centered around him being an alcoholic, to where with the MCU, it was just lightly touched upon. It wasn't a focus point. But I think that uh, the personality of Tony Stark was very much
Yeah,
comic book,
yeah,
so
he was
they got
definitely a
that down.
narcissist. He was definitely a narcissist, like he was in the book.
Right.
Womanizer but womanizer stopped once he got with can't think of her name.
You talking about Pepper Potts or
Yeah, once he got with Potts. But in the comic books, he was definitely a womanizer, drinking, narcissist, playboy. So
right? And
yeah,
and to be fair, like they covered most of that. I feel
yeah.
like the
The
only
first
thing,
time, man, they did.
yeah, he was, man, like, see, I feel like in
Yeah, he
that
did get drunk at that party when he fought Rhodey.
that
Yeah,
was actually pretty funny. That was a very rewindable scene. You know what I mean? Like it just was just so damn hilarious. And it's like I feel like because you have a lot of comics with Iron Man, the fact that Kevin, covered as much as he did, I'm like, you know, I can forgive that you didn't focus on him being an alcoholic because he did this. Even though I don't like Iron Man 3 as a comic book movie, because the movie itself is fine if you dismiss the comic book stuff, but as an Iron Man movie, I'm like, nah, trash. But like
they did
he,
that.
he
Man, it was totally crazy.
yeah, the only thing that I appreciate about Iron Man 3 is how it showed Tony's PTSD when he was having them panic attacks and
Yeah,
stuff, because that was definitely a thing in the comics. Like, so I thought that made up for them not showing the alcoholic thing, because somebody having panic attacks and PTSD can
maybe
be arguably just as bad or worse.
that and showing all his armors at the end was very cool to me because I
Yeah,
remember Iron Man cartoon where he had all his armors in one armor. He could adapt it.
right. Yeah,
If you remember that one, but it was I think that
yeah,
it,
I do.
and he could adapt it to like if he's in the water, it could turn to a hydro armor. If he's in space, it could turn to space. I like that. I know they probably couldn't do it with this armor, but the different
Right.
armors was cool how they did that. I like that.
I thought the scene was cool, and I took it as nothing more than their way of being able to show off a lot of different Iron Man suits,
Yeah.
because you could have played out that scene in a number of ways. So I thought that was a reasonable way to show them all off. Because I remember I was having a conversation about how many Iron Man suits that Iron Man has in the comics, and then it went into the whole like, well, Batman can do everything he can do and better. Like Batman has more than 100 different suits in the comics, all with different technological advances, and he has a whole suit called the Hellbat suit where he can go in apocalyptic environments. Like, but anyway, like that, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, very cool. DQ said Balthazar. I didn't get that reference.
David, I know what you're talking about. Beltazar, you talking about from Julian McMahon, who we were just talking about, that played Doctor Doom in like the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movies.
Uh huh.
He played a character named
Yeah,
Beltazar
on Charmed.
yeah, on Charmed, on the
Yeah,
original one. Now,
yeah,
like, he was one of my favorite characters. He was dating Phoebe, played by Alyssa Milano, who I've
yeah,
had a lot of interesting nights with.
yeah.
But
I've heard. I've seen that stream. I was like, oh my god, is he? It was quite funny. I'm telling you too. The one you singing the Halo song, man,
oh,
I was at work laughing. I was like, I know Halo. That was funny.
oh yeah, oh, you saw that, huh?
Jay, man, if you do something, I usually click on it if I'm not too busy.
Thank you, Danny. Like, man, that was my first attempt, man. It randomly popped in my mind because I was looking at different stuff, and I happened to see Halo, and I was like, let me try this out real quick, and I just clicked record, and I just did it, Danny, and then that was it.
I hear you. You know, after I say, it's a new X-Men movie be will the new X-Men movie be part of the MCU or in the Fox still like Deadpool 3? I think that Disney has the rights to new X-Men now. I'm
Yep.
not sure when they're gonna reboot it or when they're gonna do another one. I don't know.
Um.
I would
Well,
try and tie it with, if it was me, I would try and tie it with um I would do Black Panther 2 first, and then maybe at the end scene credit or somewhere in the movie have Storm come in there because in the comic book, Storm and Black Panther are supposed to get together, and then that's how I would slide into the reboot through
That
Storm.
that's not bad, but like Kevin Feige did say like it would come after this current phase of film. So after we get like Black Widow and the Eternals and stuff like that, the Fantastic Four and the X-Men will be in the same phase, which makes sense. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. But like in terms of Storm being with Black Panther, as cool as that is, that was ever brief in the comic books. So I would wonder, like for the sake of movies, because it's not a show, for the sake of movies, if she's going to be with T'Challa, I picture that lasting no more than 2 movies before that breaks off
That's
because
cool
it
with
was
me.
so
I,
great.
I didn't I didn't want to be the bridge to reboot the new X-Men. I don't care if they stay together forever, or 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. It don't matter to me. I'm just saying
Right,
if
right.
that's a viable bridge for them to introduce the new X-Men. Maybe they're going on a secret mission or something, and it kind of brings her close to the border of Wakanda, and then he sees her on a damn scanner or something. Oh, who is that? Okay.
That's funny. Like
Nope.
I could I could picture Shuri just coming in with the biggest smile, like, "Yeah, brother, look who I found." Like
Yep.
that would be very much MCU esque. I'm like, of course, Storm would come in like that.
Yep.
But man, I was actually more so hoping that Black Panther would show Namor the Submariner, since he has a history with the Wakandans and almost every Marvel character.
That would be a way to bridge the Fantastic Four because the Submariner and Invisible Woman got that kind of love interest thing going on. So I'm cool
Um,
either way.
that's true. Like I think what let me see, because if you introduce the Fantastic Four, you definitely want to make sure that Reed and Sue become a thing. So what you could have is, Submariner, like trying to get at Sue, and then
Yep.
Reed's like, nah, you ain't having that. And then that maybe that's how they start fighting. Like
Yep.
I could see that.
Yep.
I
You
mean,
right.
hopefully that's not the only reason why he's upset. I don't want that, because that'll make the character come across as weak. Like it needs to be woven into his whatever agenda he already has. That's like extra topping on top of the cake.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So, and then depending on what they do with Submariner, since he is technically considered a mutant for all intents and purposes, and his ties to the X-Men, like there's so many ways you could do him. You could introduce him with the X-Men, that they find him or whatever, or you can introduce him in Black Panther 2. Or they could do the whole Illuminati thing with, because they're gonna have all the players, right?
Everybody's talking about he has to be of Asian descent. I don't necessarily. I think you give just using this thing because he's already. Say you give Batista one of them triangle flat top hairstyles that Namor wears. I mean,
oh, oh man, like I want them to pick a different actor. I know they've
I'm just
used
saying, he gotta be muscular.
right, right. Right. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but I would prefer that they, get someone else. But now I could see Batista with the hair, but I feel like it would just make me laugh. Like I don't know, like it's one of like he would be
I didn't see oh boy as Aquaman, Jason Momoa. I was
right,
like, Aquaman is blonde hair, pretty boy, um, blue eyes, but
right.
hell, if he didn't do it, man, I tell you,
But
I like Aquaman, but the fight scene at the end is the money shot. That's what I always go to on YouTube, man. When you start
right.
twirling that down,
Oh yeah, when he was
or
doing Volko's move and shit,
I
I
was
was like,
like,
Danny,
I said, this shit here gonna about to be hot, boy.
man, me, like I was with 3 of my friends, and like we did the thing where we turned high five, the other one high five, the other one. It was just like that, woo, like,
So,
like yo, it did, it just, it was a great movie experience for sure. I mean, hell, the Aquaman, the ending of the movie before he fought Ocean Master, that was in game underwater times 1,000. You saw how many creatures there were in that water
uh-huh.
sequence, Danny?
Yeah,
I'm like, so
Then
That's
he
what I was
fought that
telling.
big ass thing at the end. Oh,
Shit, man, Danny, like that's what I was telling this one human because he was like, DC need to have their version of Endgame. I'm like, did you see Aquaman? That was worse than Endgame, and that was underwater. Like if that shit would have came out and onto the surf, oh
and basically now
man,
there's only one person.
yeah, one person. It wasn't like 20 different characters. It was Aquaman and his situation. There was so many things going on that I could barely focus on one specific thing. My
I,
eyes were
I
scanning.
give it the mirror, but two against many.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
he
it
got,
at
and he
least with
got
in
that
game,
shit.
I was able to focus, Danny. Like I with in game, I could see everything that was going on. You could literally turn your eyes to the right side of the screen. You got like a gazillion people over here. You got some in the middle. You got some in the far. Man,
I tell you, it's hard. I don't know. Well, I can't compare. I can't compare Aquaman to Endgame, bro. I see
I'm
what you
talking.
said in that one.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'll tell you this. In game's last hour, I would say is better than Aquaman. But
Yes.
here's the thing, though. In-game has a gazillion characters. Aquaman is by himself. So specifically, like I'm talking about the sheer epicness of a fight
Yeah.
scene. You,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm thinking of the battle underwater compared to the battle at the end of in-game. Aquaman's battle to me was much more impressive than the in-game battle where everybody was running around because there was much more fighting in Aquaman and the scenes were much more complex. But if you ask a lot of people, they might give it to Endgame, but that's only because it has like 20 main characters. You know what I mean? Like Aquaman was by himself.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a Justice League movie.
Yeah. The situation was more difficult for him. I give you that. But if I get to see the Aquaman sequence and I get to see Endgame sequence, I think I'm going to choose Endgame sequence every time.
That's fair. Now we are talking about the battle because
I'm
if
talking
you
about the
want
battle
to,
part. I'm talking
yeah,
about the point where Aquaman jumps in the water because all those
mm-hmm,
things are attacking the ship, him and Mirror, and they're
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
going through that portal.
yeah,
And in game, I'm talking from the point where Captain America catches Moon. From that point, when he catches Moon, man, I almost lost my mind. I don't
okay.
care.
Well, I was thinking starting sooner than that. I was thinking like I was focusing on like when Aquaman was in the full uniform and they were already fighting in comparison to when
Oh,
all the
I got you.
Avengers.
I got you. I got you. I see what you're
Yeah,
saying now. I see.
yeah,
You said when he already came back with his mama and the girl, and they were fighting. Yeah,
yeah, and they
I
were,
got.
yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot about that. I forgot about that. I thought you was talking about when him and Mirror were fighting to get to that tunnel. I got.
Oh no, now that was dope, but
Yeah,
compared to that end game thing, no. But now
yeah.
you see what I'm talking about, though, right?
Now,
Like,
yeah,
okay,
that's a toss up. That's a toss up. That's a toss up. So
okay,
forgive
yeah,
me. I will concede to that. I kind of forget about that, but now I remember what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
that water
because that
scene,
was
that was hell. That was hell.
Danny. When I was watching that Aquaman sequence, when James Wan said that he was gonna do something that we hadn't seen before, I was just like, dang, what you mean? I was watching the movie. I'm like, okay, James, when I see what you did with the chase scene when they were jumping on the rooftops and how you did the underwater stuff, but I had a feeling like, you know, this is some of what he was talking about, but we still got like 20 minutes left. Maybe he's talking about something at the end. And when it was that battle and all that, and the Kraken came out and all that crazy stuff, Danny,
Yeah.
and all the sharks and the crab people and stuff, I was like, oh my God, this dude literally pulled off an Aquaman comic book, Danny.
Yeah, he did. I will give you
Damn.
that. That was very impressive. DQ says someone suggested Clive Owen as Doom to me. I'm not mad at that. Clive Owen, he can play the part. He's a nasty son of a bitch as a bad guy.
Ooh,
He has an accent, so I can see.
um, I'm not sure about that one. Like,
Let me see
I'm
how
not
old Clive
against it.
is.
I'm not for it per se, but like I'm intrigued. Like I don't know how that would play out, honestly.
Clive Owen, age.
Because I like Clive Owen. I don't want to say I'm a fan of his, but
He's
I
too old.
appreciate some of his work.
He's 55.
Oh, yeah, that might be a little bit too old, maybe.
Curtis said Dominican Scott has a bad icon too. Love what you think of Keaton and old Bruce as Batman Beyond movie. Yep, that would be good.
Um,
That's it. Go ahead. Someone pay
I
Netflix subscription. Sure.
I
Yeah.
would love to see that, but I'll say this, Danny.
Mhm.
I don't want to see it right now because I think that like we had Ben Affleck, but he didn't have a solo Batman film. Unfortunately, he was drinking a lot, and when I heard about that, I don't want him to die. It's not that important for us to get a Batman movie with him, and he ends up dying. Like none of that. But I think that they need to fully establish Batman and Robin before you just jump to old man Bruce and Terry McGinnis because the concern for the average person that don't know what we know, Danny, right? Or even the
Mhm.
people that watch that cartoon,
Uh-huh.
like for people to care about an older Bruce Wayne and a clone of Bruce Wayne, I
Mhm.
think you would need the weight of them having been on a journey with Bruce and watching him get older, and then you see him pass it on. It would just give the audience a good feeling in a way that you would miss if you just randomly made it into a live action movie.
I
Like
think
I
you
feel like
I would do another what you call it? Um Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad ties more into that than the regular Batman, doesn't it?
you talking about this new one that's coming out?
You know what I'm saying? The Suicide Squad kind of connects me more to Batman Beyond because Amanda Waller created the Suicide Squad. And if you
Mm-hmm.
watch the cartoon, Batman Beyond, she says in there that she saw Batman getting aging and getting older, and she took some of his blood because she knew that the world needed to always have a Batman. So she took Batman's blood and cloned it, and that's where Terry McGinnis comes in. And she explains that
Right,
he doesn't have his intellect, but he has his heart and his courage and all other stuff. And that's
right,
out. And so the Suicide Squad to me would be a way to transition into the Batman Beyond movies. If I was
I
going to, that's what I would do.
okay. Like I'm not against that at all. Actually, that's very well said. That's actually that makes perfect sense. Like when you were saying it, I'm just like that is not wrong at all. Like that's 100% like that is definitely a way that you could do that. But while I like that and I wouldn't be against it, I don't know, it's like to have Bruce there is so important, and like I don't want it to be something to where we're like, yeah, but there's no substance. You know what I mean? I would want
Kind
it
of
to,
like, kind of like how they wasted Bruce Wayne on Crisis.
um
Kevin Conroy, Bruce Wayne.
okay, that's a fair example, but I'll tell you this though, with Kevin Conroy's thing, I was happy that he showed up, and I was not expecting him to
That was
be there for a long period, right?
that was fan service. It was awful. It's the only thing about Crisis that I really totally
Right.
did not like.
And I've heard that position, and I'm not totally against that, like because for me, like I'm saying, like I just wanted to see him, and I knew he wasn't gonna be there. I knew he wasn't gonna be a Paragon. I'm like, I don't think so. Like I pictured him coming. He probably would have some words to say. He probably would build something, give somebody some advice, and we wouldn't see him again. I thought the same thing with Tom Welling, and he pretty much had a cameo too. I figured that these would be nothing more than cameos. So from my perspective, I wasn't disappointed at all. However, the position that you and some others have, I understand it because I too would have preferred that he had more stuff, but I'm not against necessarily him being there for a short time. And the way that they killed him, the only reason, Danny, that I gave that a pass is because he was crippled. Like if he would have been a healthy Bruce, like walking around, he didn't have the contraption that he used in the Kingdom Come storyline. If he would have been, able to move and he would have got done like that, I'd have been pissed. So I only gave it a pass for that reason that Kate was able to take him out. Like all she did was kick him and he went into the electrical component. So I was just like, yeah, well, that would snap anybody up if you're not Shazam or Superman or somebody like that shit is taking you out. And I thought it was cool that he stayed alive long enough to say a couple of words because that's what Batman does, Danny. I'm like, of course he would live just to say a couple more words. So, do you feel like you understand my position? Like you get what I'm saying? Like,
I hear what you're saying.
yeah.
I
So
agree with it. That if he wasn't in that suit and they beat him like that, then I'd be like, that's a fake Bruce Wayne.
I'd be like, I don't care what damn universe you go to, Danny. There ain't no way you're gonna tell me that a healthy Bruce Wayne is getting snapped up that quick. No. Nope. So
Yep, you are correct. DQ says at least Clooney didn't reveal his identity to a circus full of people.
what? Okay. He's talking about the scene in Batman Forever when Bruce Wayne, when Harvey was there when he killed the Flying Graysons, and he was like, "I want to know the identity of Batman. You have 2 minutes or 5 or whatever it was, right, Danny?"
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne came out and he was like, "Harvey, I'm Batman." He was saying it, but there was so much noise that nobody heard him, including Two-Face. And we saw that he was
Keep
fighting.
talking, I'll be right back.
Yeah, and he was doing that, and then he was fighting the thugs, and then the Graysons fell to their death. But you can't use that as an example because nobody heard him reveal his identity. That doesn't count. We just saw that from an audience perspective, but none of the characters heard what he was saying. So yeah, what you think about what I just said, Danny? Because I feel like that point I just made was completely on point. What you think about that? That him revealing his identity doesn't matter if nobody heard him say that, Harvey, I'm Batman.
That's correct.
What difference does that make?
It doesn't. And he did it for the right reasons. But
exactly. And it didn't work. He tried, and then he even was fighting. He proceeded to fight Harvey's thugs. He beat the shit out of like 2 or 3 of them, and that was outside of his suit. So that's why I keep telling people you don't need a suit. That's just extra shit. But anyway, he snapped them up, and then he saw the Graysons falling because Robin, Dick Grayson, he took out the bomb that was going to blow up that whole place, and he pushed it out into the water. And he was like, oh, he felt so relieved. Danny was like, man, I saved everybody, only to come back to see that his family, they fell to their deaths.
Yep.
So
I get you. Dominican Scots.
No, I was just gonna say, man, that just sucks, man.
It does. These Scots said, I would have liked to see a third Batman movie directed by Tim Burton after Batman Returns.
Oh yeah, I think we all would have wanted that.
Curtis says that's why I think Obi-Wan used a stun or fear-based force power before he leaped out of the hole. I don't think so. I think that writing just said that he's going to win that particular scene because if he had that high ground against Anakin, and it was the exact same flip, the exact same
thing, except it took longer. Danny, I'm not kidding you. I didn't slow that thing down, played it from different angles, sped it up, made it go backwards because I was just like, I kept trying to find a way to explain to somebody how it didn't make sense. Like you cannot argue that made sense. They're like, well, their argument is usually this, Danny. Well, he's not supposed to die. Duh. He's in the original trilogy. I'm like, I know I didn't say he was supposed to die. It was how he was able to defeat Darth Maul is what I have a problem with.
You can't have the same scenario and have one positive outcome, then do the same thing afterwards, and it's a different outcome.
And there's more to it. Like Say this out loud. Look, what happened with Obi-Wan and Anakin? I have the high ground. Anakin was like, "Oh, you underestimate my power," and then he flipped, droop. That was it. This is what Obi-Wan did. He looked at his lightsaber, and then he looked back at Darth Maul. He flipped up, landed, used the Force to grab the lightsaber, and then he sliced him. You see how much longer that was, Danny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just the writing in one said one had to die, and the writers in the next scene, exact same scene, said nope, he's gonna live. So, so a stone of fear-based power, that'd be good, but that didn't happen.
Speaking of which, I didn't like what happened with Yoda either. Like when he fell down and left like a coward. I didn't like that. That was awful.
Yeah, I
Like
think
you,
he was kind of tired. I think when he exerts a lot of his, I don't know.
because
That's
because
speculation.
see, because this is how I would have written it, Danny. Like when Yoda, when you essentially might play out the same way, minus that ending. I would have had it to where Darth Sidious and Yoda, they're going back and forth, they're going between the Force powers and the lightsaber, and then you got all the different stormtroopers and stuff show up, and they start overwhelming the shit out of Yoda with gunfire. He's blocking it, true, 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 hitting it back and stuff. And you have Darth Sidious attacking him with the Force at the same time. He's getting overwhelmed. He gets knocked back, and he has to retreat because he can't deal with all those troops and Darth Sidious at the same time. So it would make sense that he would have to fall back. But in
Okay.
the way that they wrote it, where he just fell down and then he kind of looked up all defeated, like knowing that, hey, I got to stop this dude. Like you
Yeah.
can't just walk away from that. Out of everything you can ever walk away from, you can't do it with that one.
I
Like
think
any
that, and I thought about this. I'm like, why is the Sith seem to be so much powerful than the Jedi? The only thing that makes sense to me is that the Force is a battery. And they get all the Jedi plug into this side of the battery. So of course it's going to drain down the power. But on the dark side battery, there's only two people tapping into it. So they're going to have more power. So that's the only way I can figure out maybe how Yoda taps into the battery power only when he has to. But when he taps into it, he uses the battery power up more, kind of like a cell phone. But since Order 66 happened, then that cut off a lot of people using the power. So he should have had more power. I guess the Emperor had more power in his battery because there's only two of them tapping into the actual battery power, which is the dark side. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
okay, but kind of almost like how you said, like because there was less Jedi, that means that there was only Yoda and Obi-Wan left because Leia and Luke, they were babies.
Yeah, but
So
it's more. If you find out during the story, it's more Jedi that was alive because
true.
all
Yeah.
the Jedi wasn't killed by Order 66.
Okay, that's fair. Then I'll say this. I think it might be more so that the Sith or anyone using the dark side of the Force, because they essentially got rid of that name, but whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever. They're the Sith, they're not the Sith. I'm like, make up your mind. But anyway, like, but I think it's because in real life, if you look at the negative emotions like rage and anger and murderous intent, those things are much more of a driving force than love. I know some people are like, no, love conquers all. I'm like, what part of history is that?
I
If
agree
you
with that. I agree with what you're saying, but let me add this. You can't sustain it though. It's not sustainable.
oh,
Point in case, I can be mad. I mean, today, just today,
mm-hmm.
my wife came home and she said if she was doing something. I went and took trash off. And I came back and she was out doing something in the yard, and she's sick with a cold like hell. And I got furious. I mean, I was like, why in the fuck is she doing this right here? Why can't she bring her ass in the house and sit down? Da, 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 da. And I guarantee you, for 30 minutes, I was furious. I could use the force, I probably would have break somebody's neck. But shit, here it is 2 hours later. I ain't mad about it.
Okay.
So that anger and that rage and that fury, that's short. when you the books I've read, whenever they're in some kind of dire situation, they can tap into that to get themselves out. But you can't sustain that rage.
Uh, I will say this, Danny. Like, I don't know if I told you, but I was dealing with rage for years, Danny. Many years before I was able to get myself in a mental position to where I wouldn't walk around like, because there's a difference between anger, like how you said, you can't really sustain anger, but see, rage is forever lingering until you fix it. You have to. Like anger, that can go away, but rage, though, when you feel legitimate rage, and fiction is a good way of showcasing what a person can do when they have rage, how that can drive them to conquer and destroy, and so on and so on. Often used
And
for
correct me if
negative
I'm
stuff.
wrong. Rage is you put into a situation for years. It's usually not a month or a week thing. It's like years. You've been every time you wake up, somebody put
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in the case of someone that uses the dark side of the force, these are individuals that they have rage in them. They're not just like, because we've seen like Jedi can get frustrated and angry, but that's fleeting though. That don't really matter. But when someone just has this rage and it's combined with willpower, maybe sadness, maybe depression, like essentially a bunch of negative stuff that could lead to the destruction of a person if they don't keep it in check. I'm like, that, if you look at it that way, that is more than enough as to why someone that uses the dark side of the force is oftentimes more powerful at first, unless they meet someone that surpasses them because they just naturally have something that everyone else doesn't have. It's like Obi-Wan's potential. His potential was like crazy great. Or like you look at someone like,
And now that you
you
say
know,
that, that's probably why he beat Maul because Maul was so full of rage. Sometimes when you get rage, you don't keep a clear mind. The rage fuels you and empowers you in the moves that you're doing. But if you don't have some kind of level of control, then sometimes your rage can make you do something silly, kind of like when he was in the Clone Wars and Maul had not Clone Wars, but in Rebels, Maul seeked him out in the desert. He was much older. Maul was still look vigorous to me, and he was part robotic. And he tried that same move. He had that same rage.
is that
Uh,
where Obi-Wan killed him or
yeah,
what?
like the same move he put on Qui-Gon. That's what Obi-Wan killed him with.
Right.
And
No,
and
I haven't seen Rebels, but I saw
oh,
that clip. Yeah.
watch it, man. Rebels, Clone Wars is good, but Rebels is better. If you get a
Yeah,
chance,
I,
sit down and
I gotta
binge watch
watch. I
Rebels,
gotta watch. Yeah, I gotta watch him, Danny, for
and
sure. Like,
Rebels will teach you a lot about uh,
it-
the different aspects. Man, Thawne is a uber intelligent genius. Is good. You need to watch it.
okay, I'll say this to your point then. Like, in the situation for Maul and Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan was already a better fighter, and his potential was higher, and I think that's why he was able to beat Maul. Because like, if I look at myself, like I remember the first time that I beat a black belt, I didn't have a black belt. I was far away from it. In fact, I was a yellow belt. But I'll tell you this in short: before my parents actually put me in anything martial arts related, they wouldn't for a long time because they thought I would just learn it to hurt people. They were not wrong about that because I was dealing with a lot of bullies back then. So of course I'd have learned that. I'd have went up to the school and I'd have fucked them kids up, Danny. That's just me being honest. But I what I did was is I watched a lot of martial arts movies, but I would replay scenes over and over and do the moves until it looked exactly how I was seeing it. And it was like to the point to where, Van Damme, how you would do those jump spinning kicks and the split kicks. I was able to do that perfectly, Danny. Like just by practicing that for months. And like when I went to the first day of Taekwondo, right? They're like, oh, anybody got any sort of prior fighting experience? And this person, well, I did boxing, I did judo, I did wrestling, I did this and that. And I said, I watched the movies. Everybody started laughing and shit, Danny. So I jumped up and did that Van Damme split kick. I did the spinning kick, like how you see Van Damme and the Green Power Ranger doing that shit. Like I was able to do that. They was like, where you learn that? And then my mom was there. She'll tell you, she was like, he told you, you learned it from the movie. So I I somehow was able to pick that up without guidance So I was told that I have a crazy potential to be something special if I get the right tutelage and I'm consistent and stuff like that. So when I went up against that damn black belt, Danny, I had rage in me. I was fucking pissed because this human was like, "Hey, I'm a black belt. I'm about to win because I'm a black belt. You're nobody." I was much skinnier then. He was looking down on me like I was a piece of shit, Danny. So I was like, "I'm about to show this human that you don't underestimate Terrence. That's the biggest mistake of your life." So that when the master was like, "Fight, Danny," I was not even trying, Danny, and I
Hold on. This is my boss. I gotta take this call. Hold on. All right.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh no worries. But no, so I went up there and it was like fight, and I called myself out because this is what I was doing. I was very arrogant. I,
Hey,
I wasn't
did, did,
trying
did,
very hard,
did you
and
hear Mortal Kombat music in your head?
um honestly, the things I was thinking
Dun,
about, Danny, like I was thinking about Bruce Lee. I was thinking about the
Chuck
bullies at
Norris.
my school. Um, I was thinking about just people in general that were treating me cruel and talking trash to me and all kinds of stuff. I was thinking about all that in that moment, and
Uh-huh.
like I wasn't trying. I was being arrogant because I was thinking I'm about to destroy this human. Even though we were just sparring, it still was a way for us to showcase our skills and stuff like that. So this dude would throw a kick, I block it out the way, like get that shit out of here. Then I throw like for every kick he was throwing, I was throwing like three of them. So I was clearly a lot faster than he was. He was the taller guy. He was the bigger guy. Didn't matter. And then when he went in to try to roundhouse kick me, I sidestepped to the right and side kicked him right in his nose, Danny, and I busted his shit up. And like, I wasn't supposed to do that. That was wrong of me. That
Come
was
on, man.
yeah. That just man, Danny. I remember that moment because the Masters. It was about I want to say six of the Masters were there that day, And when I looked to them like for approval, like, yeah, hey, you guys saw that. I highly lower rank, and I just took out one of your black belts. Like, I'm a beast, right? And Danny, they just had that look of like,
Get your
you
black
messed.
ass out of here.
Right. Yeah, they had that look. Get your black ass out of here, Terrence. You fucked up. And I'm not gonna lie, Danny. I was disappointed, man. I thought they was gonna come over and shake my hand, like, man, Terrence is just something else. But and then even the other students, when they were watching it, it was like my brother. I kid you not, Danny. My brother, he was there. He was the only one that was clapping, Tremaine, because he was so loud that he was clapping and laughing, like, yeah, Terrence.
Yeah.
Like, yep, he was like, so, I went to sit down and then Tremaine came over to me. He was like, man, Terrence, like, he was like, you messed him up. And I was like, yeah, Tremaine, but nobody else seemed to be happy about this. But inside, though, I was happy that I was able to do that to him because everything suggests that he should have been able to easily slaughter me. He was taller, he was bigger, he was way ahead of me in rank. This dude was a black belt. He should have wiped the fucking mat with me, and he didn't. And that was because I was feeling a certain way. So the reason why I brought that up is because if you apply it to more extreme stuff with the sake of the force and stuff, I'm thinking that that can help because they focus on that kind of stuff. Being the Sith, it's all kinds of negative stuff. They don't care nothing about peace and helping the humans and all this. They just want what they want. They want to control stuff and they want to showcase their power.
You're right. You're absolutely right on that, bro. I can't argue with that. That's a very good example. Let me keep. If you look at Maul's face, just growing maybe a confusion force done. After he got cut, I see all that, but not before. He led Mace, took out others in 2 seconds. He led Mace. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't get that one.
It's hard to say because Mace is technically the best human character, force wielder, and those are specialized for a fight, so it's hard to say. Okay, I agree with you on that. Then what about Joe Manganiello to play Wolverine? Yeah, he did good in Deathstroke in Batman v Superman, and he played a werewolf in True Blood.
Right.
He's a little old too, though, but he has the features. Let me see what his age is.
That's right. Like, you know what? If anything would disqualify him, it might be his age, but he does have Wolverine features, and he's buff and he's really hairy too. So like he could do it, but like I said, we got to think about the longevity thing. Like, how old is he?
I'm looking it up now.
Because I definitely like Joe Manganiello. Like,
he's 43.
Okay.
He's possible. Considering Deathstroke is dead in the water, why not Manganiello? I don't think Deathstroke is dead in the water. I don't like the way they did that after credit scene, but
you didn't like that? I thought it was awesome. I was like, yo,
I don't like the way they did that for it and not doing anything with it because not seems
okay.
Like we never see Justice League 2, so I mean,
but see that's the thing, Danny. Like, he was I remember they did a screen test, and it was like we had Joe Manganiello coming out in the Deathstroke suit, and he was like, it looked like he was in an alley or maybe on a shore somewhere. There was like some fog and stuff. And Ben Affleck said that when he was putting together the script, it was supposed to be. Have you seen the Raid movies?
I haven't.
Okay, like the Raid is like you got a cop and he goes inside this building. There's a lot of criminals and he goes up all the levels just to get to the bad guy. So, and it just, Danny, you got to watch it. Like, you want to talk about some sick fight scenes. When you can, you look into the Raid Redemption and the Raid 2, and you come back and talk to me about that, because those movies, they have some of the most craziest creative fight scenes I have ever seen, Danny. I kid you not. So But yeah, so Deathstroke was supposed to be the main villain of that movie. So picture this. This is what Ben Affleck had planned for us, Danny. Batman going up through Arkham Asylum, raid style.
Uh
He
huh.
fighting the different criminals, and Deathstroke is at the top because he has to do with the main plot of the movie. He did something or other where Batman was supposed to get to him. He was at the top, and then Batman got to fight him, and then he has to fight his way back out of Arkham Asylum. So we were gonna get like a really badass raid style Batman esque kind of movie with Deathstroke in it. That's what we were gonna get.
I thought that I seen something on maybe it was those Justice Injustice movies or Arkham movies where he fought um Deathstroke in like the courtyard or something.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. So that was. I feel like that was something that was maybe that was taken from that, and then he just kind of expanded upon it. But like, man, Danny, I is even though I'm interested in seeing what they do with this film, and I hope Robert Pattinson is good and all that stuff, I'm still a little hesitant on him, but I hope he can convince me. But even though I'm interested, I really wish we could have gotten that Batman film directed and starring Ben Affleck because it sounded bananas. It sounded like because when you
Could,
say
could he
Batman,
could he do all that in 2 hours though?
that particular plot, yes. Like it, what would happen is when we watch the film, we would have to find out. Okay, something would have to be revealed to where he has to go into Arkham because Deathstroke is in there somewhere. He doesn't know where he is, but he has to go through all the levels. Okay, you remember the Dread movie when he had to go throughout the building?
Uh huh. Yep.
Picture, because you've seen that. So picture that, but that's Arkham, and
Yeah.
Batman has to go through all the villains.
I remember one of the Arkham games where he was like Bruce Wayne, and then Alfred sent him the suit
Okay,
like in the
okay,
rocket. So that
okay.
was kind of cool seeing that. Alfred sends him the suit. He puts on the suit and stuff, and then
Oh, that's cool. That was in
okay,
the
one of the Arkham
cutscenes.
games.
Okay, because like I haven't like those games. Like I've only played parts of it. Like when the
I don't play
friends.
the game. I just watched like the movie part of it, kind of like
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, the cutscenes.
yeah, whatever different. Like the last Mortal Kombat when he and Scorpion's fighting. You see
Okay,
that?
okay.
That's what I watch because that to me that's more exciting than the game. I mean, I'll play the game later on down the road, but the
Right,
movie,
right, right.
movie part of it when he's like Raiden has defeated everybody
Okay,
except Scorpion, and man, that fight scene is awesome.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Because
So I'm hoping they'll do something like that with the new Mortal Kombat.
hey,
Let me
man,
talk, well,
me too, man.
yeah, let me get to some of these. What do you think about Pepper Potts taking on Iron Man mantle? I don't want to see
Man,
her Iron Heart or what her name is.
yeah,
The
yeah. Like Pepper Potts has something, another designation in the comics, but they
Protector or
do
something.
got the
It's to
yeah,
protect her or something.
something like that. And then like, cause you do have Ironheart, and that's separate. You know, that's that black chick. But like, man,
I
I'll
think they're gonna make her daughter, Tony's daughter,
yeah,
the next one, which I don't have a problem with. And he's
yeah,
gonna be her artificial intelligence. So I don't have a problem with that.
yeah. That's fine. It's like if they go to Ironheart route, because you know they
Mm-hmm.
have been pushing the diversity thing. I'm not so much against it as I am like give me a good reason. Don't just like do it just because people are trying to force you. Give me a good story, and if you can do the Ironheart black female character and it's good, I will be happy. If it's trash, I'm gonna be
I
like,
don't even want to see that. I want to see his daughter. He leaves her something when she turns a certain age.
mm,
She has his intelligence, smarts, whatever, blah, 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 blah. She puts together a suit. She's mad because of whatever, and da 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 da. And then Pepper Potts say, "Look, this is what your daddy left you." She goes into either him or that other little boy that he helped in Iron Man 3.
oh,
I could see them teaming up doing something. Iron Man Junior and Ironheart. I wouldn't be mad at that because he left him the money and stuff, and didn't he leave him like
I know at the end of
yeah,
at the end of Iron Man 3, he left them a lot of gifts.
I think he kind of updated his garage and stuff because he saw he
Yeah, yeah. So he left him a lot of stuff, upgraded his garage. I don't know. if he left him a lot of money per se. I mean, that might have happened. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who's to say that Tony didn't give it to the boy's parents? You know what I mean?
I'm pretty well. I want to speculate that he saw potential in that boy, and that boy helped during that time. If he wanted to go to any kind of college or something, I'm pretty sure Tony left some kind of fund or something. Hey,
Oh
okay.
yeah. So like, no, I'm not against what you're saying at all. It's like the only reason why I mentioned the whole Ironheart thing is because nowadays they really trying to push some stuff, and I'm like, well, there's a precedence for that if that's what you want to do.
Right.
But if you're talking about doing a whole movie around like Pepper Potts and Tony's daughter, I'm like, I don't know about that. Like that's to me, that seems to be more of something you would do in a segment in somebody else's movie and not so much dedicate 2 hours to that. Like
Right.
I watch it because I'd be like, Marvel, yeah, that's cool. I hope it's good. But if I'm spitting ideas out, I would never even present that because that doesn't sound entertaining to me. It just sounds maybe cool at best. Like I don't know.
I got you. Curtis said Batman is like a PC and Iron Man is like Mac. LOL. I love Iron Man though. Hey, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. This iPhone is one of the best things man has ever made, boy. I can do so much stuff with this iPhone. It's crazy.
I would love to see something where, Tony's just flying around and like, yeah, so yeah, what we coming up on? And the little fucking Jarvis is like, I don't know, there seems to be a glitch in my system. Jarvis, what you mean a glitch? I'm losing power, sir. And then he shuts down, and then Tony's trying to look around, and he just sees Batman just standing there, Danny. He
He
just
sees,
crashes into a
oh
building.
shit, in his readouts, you see the damn Batman emblem. I'm telling you, man,
I'm
that
like, dang, Danny. Yeah,
Batman
I'm like,
is a motherfucker. I'm telling you. Let's just say hypothetically there was a superhero death match kind of thing, but they wouldn't have
mhm.
fight to the death. Kind of like the superhero, kind of like the Darth Vader and the Batman thing. If I
Yeah,
walk in, I don't care if I'm Superman. If I look on that doggone fight schedule and I see my opponent is Batman,
right.
I'm coming up with every excuse in the book. Man, I think I hurt my shoulder, man. Um, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think my X-ray vision working or some bullshit. Because man, Batman gonna bring that.
Let me tell you this, Danny. A lot of people they didn't read that Superman Red Sun storyline where he was with Joseph Stalin.
Man, I
Uh,
can't wait.
but
I
but
want to.
but Ba- but Batman in that movie because it's pretty much the same way that they did it in the comics. But Batman in that storyline is even another reason as to why I'm like I keep telling people I'm like you think you know Batman because you didn't watch these movies, but I'm telling you in the comic books, like you would have to sit there and go like how you just said. If I had to fight him, I'd be like I hurt my shoulder. I'm not gonna do it. Because just when you think you're gonna count Batman out, if you give him prep time or any of that kind of stuff, people are getting murked, Danny. Like it's just the end of it. Like you don't want to mess with Batman. He is a force unto himself. Like he's done so much for the league. Like he come in the Justice League, he let them know stuff, and it's his information that allows them to do certain things quick as hell. Like to where you like Batman, how did you get there so fast, man? You ain't no speedster. Like how'd you? And he all he has to say is I'm Batman.
That's
I
it.
know that's like a joke, but that's all he has to say because when you look at his feats and what he's able to do, he can get away with just saying I'm Batman. He don't have to explain shit. He's Batman. That's how he was able to do
That's it. I got to address this right here. Ninja, I like you, man. You support all my channels. I talk to you off camera. You're a good kid, man. I got love for you.
it.
But this is one of the most stupidest things, and I mean that in an affectionate way. You like Aquaman more than Endgame, in your opinion? Come on, man. Come
Hey,
on,
hey,
come on
hey,
now.
no. Nanny, I'll say this. I like Endgame more than Aquaman, but I do believe that last hour of Endgame is the reason why I'm saying that. I think that last hour was just so ridiculous that it's like, man, this is it right here. But
Yeah,
you also heard what I said too about that one fight scene. So you know,
And there was three things in Endgame that make that to me was the best, and there's only one in Aquaman I can think of that made me say,
right.
"Oh shit!" When Aquaman at the end start twirling that damn pitchfork
Yeah,
and was
yeah. When
doing
he had
all
his
that shit, I was like, "Oh shit! This right here is hot." That was
yeah,
my
when he
old
was
shit moment.
when he spent that trident, man, that shit was over.
Now when Captain America caught that hammer, I lost my mind. When when Falcon flew through that portal and said to your left, I lost my damn mind. And when Thor chopped off Thanos' head, I was like, oh shit. Now
Man,
them three old shit moments there ain't no way, Aquaman one old shit moment outweigh them
oh,
three.
oh, oh, okay. Let me address that last one. When I was watching the movie, when because it's the comics is different. Like it's supposed to end with Thanos in the farm. They did not win. They did not reverse time. There was none of that. They all got killed. Like you talking about countless millions of people got killed, and all them heroes, including the X-Men. My boy Thanos put Cyclops' head in a box, and when he shot his little lasers, he blew up his own head. Thanos was wrecking the Celestials and all kinds of stuff. But like in the beginning of the end game, when they said he was hurt, I'm like, man, what is this shit? Fine, whatever. I keep watching it. Captain Marvel jumped on top of him, wrapped her legs around it. I was ready to get up and walk out of the theater, Danny. And when Thor chopped off his head, I was getting ready to leave. Like I was mad as hell, Danny. I didn't like that. But I had an oh shit moment, but it wasn't a good one.
Okay, I hear what you're saying on that because you refer to comic books. No problem with that. But I'm going to give a pass on Captain Marvel simply for the fact that she is powered by one of the Infinity Stones. Now, when he has all five of them, no, she don't stand a chance. But the times when she was on his ass, he was depowered, and she got an Infinity Stone. So I mean, she has 1/5 with a six Infinity Stone. She has
But
1/6 of his power when he doesn't have any of the Infinity Stones.
okay, but here's the thing though. In the comic books though, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter that she's powered by an Infinity Stone because in the comics, Thanos is able to fight a full powered Odin, and you know how strong Odin is when he's at full power. It is
I agree, and that's been my main argument. If you remember what I said, Odin and Thor should have been able to beat Thanos because Odin has the Odin power. When he died, that should have been passed on to Thor.
but this is why. But my point though is that he was able to fight a full powered Odin and Galactus at the same time, no gauntlet, and he didn't die. So there is no way that Captain Marvel would be able to stand within 20 feet of Thanos and not die. Like that was purely the whole, she's a shoehorn character and we have to make the audience believe that she's worth something. How do you do that?
Okay.
You have her do something stupid with Thanos. I thought that was trash, Danny. What they did with her.
I'm not arguing that point because you're referring to the comic books. When I make my reference, I'm referring to what I'm seeing on the actual video on the movie screen. The movie, movie that she was powered. We saw that she was powered by an Infinity Stone. So there's 6 Infinity Stones. So if he doesn't have an Infinity Stone, she essentially has 1/6 of his power when he is not without an Infinity Stone. So I'm not saying that's enough to defeat him. I'm just saying that's enough that she can handle him to a certain degree. That's with the other 4 other Avengers that were with her at his weakest state, I can buy that.
Okay, here's the thing. I get that he was in a weakened state. Like if we want to focus on the movie, that still doesn't make sense.
I'm focusing on the movie, not the comic books. I don't have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because now I'm going to the movie. In the context of the MCU, it still doesn't make sense because Thanos. It was specifically said by who am I thinking of? Not Cole Obsidian. Ebony Maw. Like Ebony Maw was like, no one has been strong enough to hold this many Infinity Stones. The reason why they highlighted that as a scene is because you have to be stupid strong to hold more than one stone at the same time. And Thanos can wield all of them, and it doesn't drain his energy at all. So even if
Drains
Captain Marvel,
his energy if he's just wearing it, but when he uses
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like it takes a lot to wear it. Like most people can't even hold one. Like this dude is clearly holding all of the stones in order to do the snap. Like it would kill most people. Like even in the context of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, it took all of them to hold that to prevent them from disintegrating. And Peter Quill happened to be half celestial because his father is Ego the Living Planet. So even if Captain Marvel is, okay, she got the power from one stone, that still should be nothing compared to Thanos's raw power. It shouldn't happen. Like there shouldn't be a thing where he's able to headbutt her and she's smiling at him, or she's able to take him down and stuff. It irritated me.
I hear what you're saying, but because she was okay, all the other people that had possession of either one of the stones, because of course you saw it sent the Red Skull to whatever it was, and it kind of more or less destroyed him in the Captain America movie, correct?
Right.
Okay. Whenever she was exposed to it, it didn't destroy her. So in fact, it kind of enhanced her, I guess, her anatomy. So instead of destroying her, it reinforced her anatomy, and now she's able to cope with that. So whenever she's able to cope with that, then that should enhance her overall strength.
That's facts. You are absolutely right about that. It does enhance her. However, it still should not be to the degree of what we saw in the film. That's all I'm saying. Like,
but you got to remember now, he snapped twice. The first snap almost killed him.
The first snap, the first snap, he was fine though, because we saw that he was talking to younger Gamora, and he was completely healthy. It was that second snap that he used to destroy the stones is what injured him.
Yeah.
So and then even if you want to go to the comics, the snap never damaged Thanos. Like so when they said that in the context of the MCU that he did the snap and it injured him, I'm like, okay, maybe, to destroy the stones all at once, that does take a lot of power. Okay, I can maybe buy him getting hurt. That's fine. Like I'm not upset at that, but there's just something about them using Captain Marvel for certain scenes, and she is just doing things to Thanos that no matter how I bend and scratch my head on it, it never makes any sense except for the fact that they wrote it that way.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
I can see that. Not a problem. Curtis said I couldn't watch Aquaman. Turn it on for 5 minutes and shut it off. I couldn't take the CGI. I just don't like lazy CGI, which is what it looked like. You need to go take a relook on that, Curtis, because you better get you people. I had the stream last night, and the question brought up like, is CGI used too much? I'm going to tell you no, because if you expect to watch a comic book movie, you're going to have to go ahead and just put in your mind there's going to be some CGI. If you watch Sonic is totally CGI. If you want to watch Endgame and you watch Professor Hulk, that's CGI. Thanos is CGI. Some of the stuff you see on Doctor Strange is mostly CGI. So in order to get into that world, you're going to have to accept CGI is going to be a part of it. Aquaman,
exactly.
You need to go back and take a relook. Aquaman was a good movie.
And Curtis, and to that point, most of the MCU films, if you've seen how they film them, they're fucking green screen most of the time. Very rarely are they using like real locations and stuff. They use a whole lot of green screen. It's top notch. It looks amazing. I'm not knocking it, but in terms of Aquaman, he is an underwater character. There is no way you can do a proper Aquaman movie unless you use a lot of CGI. You can't do it. Yep. You just can't do it. Like unless you're talking about, the Punisher or even Blade, like you don't have to use a lot of CGI. That CGI would come from maybe him jumping really far or when people get cut in half. But you can get away with making that look really real because his character does not require a lot of CGI like Aquaman. Same thing with the Punisher. You don't have to do all that.
All that
Even with
other stuff, you have to have CGI.
you have to, because how do you that doesn't exist in real life. We have water, but the fantastical nature of Aquaman, you got to use CGI.
Yep. CGI, Ninja says gets better in the third act. I agree, but I'm telling you, don't hate on CGI. Even if it's poor quality, if it's going to bring the characters that we love in these comic books to life, I'm for it. I'll critique it later and say, man, that was kind of crappy, because if you watch Mandalorian, there was some very poor CGI in the first few episodes, in my opinion, but it didn't take away my like or love
Right.
for Mandalorian.
And what about Infinity War? There was some poor CGI with Bruce Banner when he was in the Hulk suit, where he didn't look right in, like, compared to the background. There was some of that. I caught that. Like, I could point out the scene.
Yep.
Like, so, but most of the time it looked amazing. So it's not a big deal. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting you to convince me that they are in this environment, Danny, that they can use their powers, Danny. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can do that, then the rest is more of a nitpicky thing, unless it's so prominent to where it ruins the entire movie. Then that's when I'll have a problem.
I got you. Curtis says the beginning was just hard on me. Try it again, Bo. There's a lot of movies that you'd be like, but take it. Word of mouth is one of the best things that I take to draw me to a movie. So you got two people here that I think that you listen to us. You've been listening to us for the past 2 hours. So listen to us on this. Go try it. Give it another watch. I guarantee you, at the end of the movie, you'll be like, it wasn't so bad. Because I'm telling you, that fight scene with Ocean Master and the fight scene before that, when he becomes Aquaman, gets in the orange and green suit we're accustomed to seeing, those are in-game like.
Curtis, I'll tell you this. These are the scenes that you need to be paying attention. You need to pay attention to when the second fight with Black Manta, when he had his suit and they was running on the buildings and stuff and the chase scenes, and when he was fighting Black Manta, I thought that was lit as hell. When Aquaman, when he fought his brother Orm, Ocean Master, for the first time, when they were fighting underwater, that was lit. Yep. And then when Aquaman was with Mira and they had to deal with
Deep,
forgetting the damn creature's name. You know what I'm talking about, Danny, right? The forgetting the damn creature's name, but like it was a bunch of what are they, Danny? You
said called Deep, wasn't it?
No. The creature, they got another name. Like it's
creatures in that on that boat. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, like those things. They look very something that belonged in a horror movie, which James Wan is good at making. That was a very horrific kind of sequence. Can't believe I'm forgetting the damn name of those things. But that sequence when they was fighting them on the boat and they had to jump in the water and stuff, you're gonna like that. And then when it breaks off into the end battle when they're in the water, Curtis, man, you ain't seen nothing like that, man. I'm telling you. And then when you get to Aquaman fighting Ocean Master in the end, and he has the orange suit and he's spinning the trident around, like there's no way you gonna tell me that you ain't gonna like those scenes. If you say that, Curtis, I'm gonna lose all hope for you, man. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yep, those are awesome scenes. He said. I thought it was called The Deep or something.
Man, it's on the tip of my mind. Like, what are the look them up real quick, Danny? Dan, we gotta get the name. It's bothering me now because it put Aquaman movie creatures, and then it should pop up. You should see them real quick because, damn it, like, say damn name. Yeah.
What is it saying?
Something obvious as hell. I don't know why it ain't coming out. The Trench, is it something or something like
the Trench?
Is that it, Danny?
The Trench, what they call?
Okay, yeah, okay, so yeah, okay, yeah. I told you it was on the tip of my mind. I was like, the Trench or something.
Yeah, they don't have names. They call the Trench, but they look like the creatures from the Black Lagoon. If you remember that movie.
Yeah. You are 100% right. I feel like They look like a more terrifying version of that one. It'd be like, because if you see them from the back, you might be like, "What the hell's that?" But when they turn around, Danny, you see them damn teeth and shit. Nope, time to leave.
Yep. Yep.
Hell no. That was Danny. I don't care, man. That sequence when they had to go through what looked like hundreds of millions of those things, Danny.
I was
Nah, man.
I was
No,
I was
no.
pants, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Could have said true that never been a good Batman and Robin movie. I'm not worried about Batman and Robin. I'd be more interested in seeing Nightwing.
Oh yeah, man, dang. That is why you gotta watch Titans, Danny. Man, the way they do Nightwing, Danny. I'm telling you, Titans, Danny.
I'm gonna check it out. Curtis said, "Great idea, comic chat. I just love the idea of old Bruce trying to pass on the mantle, but the clone thing is kind of meh." Hey man, let's spit the facts, man. Watch Batman Beyond. They'll tell you all that. They'll tell
I
you
gotta
all.
be honest, Danny. I did not like Batman Beyond. Like I didn't feel a lot of stuff while watching it. I thought the idea was cool, but that's not one of my favorites. I'm just being honest. But there are things that you can do movie wise that I like the Batman Beyond Return of the Joker movie. I thought that was excellent. Excellent. Thought it was awesome. But
Good. That's when the Joker kind of embedded his DNA into
yeah,
Kurt. What was
yeah.
it? Bruce.
Wait,
Bruce. One of the Robins. I can't think of his name.
I'm trying to remember which Robin was in there.
Wasn't it Todd?
I think it was Jason Todd because I don't think it was Tim Drake. It definitely wasn't no Dick Grayson.
I think it was Jason Todd.
Yeah, it might have been Jason Todd.
Curtis
But
said,
like,
I think this might be wrong regardless. Is the only thing that makes sense. Out of the scene for me, there's a part where it looks like Maul stuns Obi, and Obi learned it, using it on him. I'll have to go back and look at that, bro. I didn't see all that in that brief fight scene. I know that I read the book, and Maul was very, very confident of himself. And I think his overconfidence is what really got the best of him because he knew. In the books I read, there's a lot of EU books. The oh god, Palpatine took him from the Night Sisters, and man,
right,
he tortured him as a little boy. He put him in a room with these creatures, and they would like bite him and attack him and stuff, and he would leave him in there and say, "Look, when I come back tomorrow, they better be dead." He sent him out on these missions, man, where he wouldn't eat for like a month at a time, and he come in there and try to fight him and make him mad and get him to the point where he want to kill him. And then once you get to that point, he passed that test. It was just trial after trial after trial after trial for Maul to make Maul. And then once he finally got Maul to where he wanted him at, then that's when, and in fact, he fooled Maul that there was another person he was training, another that if he wasn't able to make a decision whether he wanted to kill him or not, that he was going to kill him and then start training the other one. And that pissed Maul off to no end because the whole thing was the rule of two. There's only supposed to be two, so why is this third person here? So he was a master manipulator on why he wanted to get Maul and how he designed Maul to be his instrument, because that's what he is. The master is the teacher. And his person that he chooses to be his apprentice is just his tool. So he kept Maul. Once he got Maul like he wanted to, he would send Maul on secret missions. And we kind of see that in the Phantom Menace when he says, well, I can send somebody that'll track the Jedi. And that's
right.
Maul, and people's like, there's a second one? Yeah. There's always going to be two.
So I got a question for you, Danny, because I haven't seen Rebels or Clone Wars. Like I'm gonna check it out at some point because I know those shows are canon. But like I really like the Darth Maul character. Like how prominent is he in both of those shows? Like, do they give a lot of Darth Maul content, or is he?
There's a lot in Clone Wars. I think he's in the third season. He's very prominent because
Okay.
he falls down that tunnel. He kind of goes insane, but he's able to find stuff to make his legs more robotic. And then
Okay.
Count Dooku gets his brother. I can't think of his brother's name, but he's like a bigger version of Maul, more stronger, more aggressive. Because the Night Sisters, the one that the males have those horns on their head, and that's part of and that the different color marking. I can't think.
Oh,
And his
okay.
brother is a bigger version of Maul, and so
Okay.
Count Dooku goes to that planet, and somehow
Mm.
he gets his brother, and then his brother is like his tool, and he goes and kills people and this kind of stuff because
Oh, okay.
Dooku has two. They don't call them Sith; they call them Sith assassins. He has
Okay.
Ventress, the bald-headed lady with the two
Mm-hmm.
lightsabers, Assange Ventress, and that other guy, which is Darth Maul's brother. Okay, Darth Maul's brother finds Darth Maul is alive, and then they kind of turn um, on what's the guy that said training? What's the older guy?
Uh, uh,
They turn
yeah.
on Count Dooku.
Okay.
Count Dooku is strong enough to beat them, stave them off. I can't remember when the Emperor gets involved. I don't think he does, but
Okay.
Dooku alienates them so much that them and Assange Ventress ultimately try to kill him because he tries to double cross them. And then they show they survive that. Maul becomes the leader of the Mandalorians. He takes
Okay.
he yields the black sword, the black lightsaber, but then that all goes busted because the Emperor gets involved, and then the Emperor has to tame Darth Maul. I don't think he kills him, but Darth Maul gets away, and then he's kind of like banished some region of the galaxy. And then in Rebels, Ezra Miller, who's the up and coming new Jedi, has a connection with Maul, and somewhere he gets one of the Sith holocrons and a Jedi holocron. And when you join them together, it will give you the knowledge of any question that you ask. And that's what Darth Maul wants to find out where Obi Kenobi is. And he finds out where Obi Kenobi is because he's just pushed on that rage and revenge, all that kind of stuff. And when he finally finds Obi-Wan gives him what he wants. So I encourage you,
because
nothing, binge watch it.
Because I know that Clone Wars takes place in between the Clone Wars and the third episode 3, and then Rebels is like a little bit before the first Star Wars movie.
Yep.
In terms of the order.
After Rebels is okay, Clone Wars is before Anakin becomes Vader, and Rebels after he becomes Vader.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of like in the lines of like the first movie, like somewhere like around there.
Yep. Because in this, all the Jedi that weren't killed by Vader hunts them down. That wasn't killed by Order 66, he hunts them down and makes them Inquisitors. And the Inquisitors are Jedi, are Force sensitive, but they work for Darth Vader, and they are awesome.
Okay. I got you. This is making a lot of sense now.
So check it out. You'll like it. Let's go on to this next question. It's just the only thing I can make. Okay. How do you guys feel about Palpatine being a clone in the Rise of the Skywalker?
Trash.
I keep hearing that. If you listen to EU or if you read EU books like I did in the past, it's been a long time. Palpatine it's foolish to think that Palpatine didn't have some kind of contingency plan, because ultimately he ordered those. He had Sifo-Dyas went and ordered those clones for the Republic, for the Jedi, because he foresaw the Clone War. So he had that Jedi Sifo-Dyas, who he influenced, go to Kamino and place that order for all the clones. If he did that for all the clones, you don't think he did something for himself?
Now, that's all fair and stuff, but it's just in the context of the films and that particular movie itself, I felt that he didn't even need to be alive. I felt like they only brought him back just to kill him and have him be killed by Rey to further elevate her character, because there was nothing about that in the other two Star Wars films, Force Awakens, Last Jedi. It just seemed like they were just
when Darth Vader threw him down that pit, I've read in the EU book, he's able to kind of separate his spirit or his essence from his body,
Oh, okay. That
and
now now
it was trapped in that ship.
so okay, that's fair. That's in that EU book though, but in the context of the movie though, right? In Return of the Jedi, we saw him end up getting shocked because Vader picked him up. That was the energy was going back into him. He
Uh-huh.
got tossed off the balcony and then he fell to the bottom. That exploded, and then they blew up the entire vessel. It turned to nothing when it blew up. So I'm like, there's no reason that he would still be alive
But you got to
unless.
always go back to what he says to Anakin. He said the dark side has a lot of abilities that seem unnatural. And I can't think of the other thing he says. So
Yeah, he did say that. He's like the Jedi's would describe it as being unnatural. That's true, but it would have it if it wasn't forced, it would have been written better. It's just how it was the delivery, the execution, right? So I'm all about that, and I'm like, look, these characters in this recent trilogy, we don't care about them. They're there, but like in terms of Poe and Finn, I'm like, man, you can interchange them with so many people. They don't really matter. I mean, Finn is just like Ray, Ray. I'm like, man, get out of here, Finn. Go somewhere with yourself. Even Ray had to shut
yeah,
him up in the last movie. Like, be quiet, Finn. And
I think
Ray,
a lot of people are mad because I think they kind of was misleading. Some people say that he was trying to tell Ray he had feelings for her, but I don't think that is. I think he discovered he was force sensitive, and he was trying to tell her that. But
that's fair, and I didn't think about that, but I mean that's fair. But it's just the thing that they were doing with the Force and how she was teleporting the lightsaber. I'm like, this is trash. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I mean, think about all the other situations, how convenient that is. It seemed to be nothing more than Rey being a Mary Sue. I'm like, she just knows how to do stuff. Because I remember they try to say that Princess Leia was her trainer. I'm like, she's a trainer now. Where did that come from? That just came out of nowhere. Okay, that doesn't matter. And when did she like become so good that she was able to knock Luke down? It just was a lot of forced nonsense that I refuse to digest. I'm like, this writing is bad. What are you saying? And then she's like, I'm all the Jedi and all this nonsense. I'm like, man, just stop. Just stop. In this movie, and then we find out at the end how she got her last name. And I'm like, that's the reason for the title. She just had to get a last name. I'm like, man, Danny, I almost like beat up my friend, took his car, and I was about to drive home. I was so mad, Danny. Like I couldn't do it, man.
I understand. Oh boy,
I'm
say
like, it,
phone call screen. Yeah, bro. I work for a living. When my boss calls, I gotta take that phone call. I'm in law enforcement. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But whenever my boss calls, I have to pick up the phone. So
hey, man, Curtis, like, if he got the boss calling, man, you
that's
gotta
right.
do that. That's understandable,
This is a hobby. It doesn't pay me one more
right?
cent.
Yeah.
What's up, Chris? Good to see you, bro. Curtis also said, Nintendo, did you see the early cartoon drawn show? What did they think of it? No.
Uh,
He took call he need to take. I did. Thank you. Appreciate it. Chris laughing out loud. Curtis left my ass off. Comment chat. Thank guys for the support. Always comment chat. Christopher, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. David Q said being a congestion for been battling a congestion for the last few days. Yes, I have. I know how that feels, brother. Cold and Rotterdam.
hey, man, as long as we don't get no coronavirus, it's all good.
That's right, bro. That's right. You right with that. Positive comment chat. Let me get all in. He also gave him his own Jarvis. Who?
Okay. I don't know.
David, pure real orange juice eats that stuff up. I've been drinking orange juice for the last couple of days and grapefruit juice. I don't feel any better. Chris said Ironheart movie isn't ready yet. We don't think
Well,
so.
yeah, Kevin Feige ain't said nothing about it.
You are right, Chris. Endgame is way better if you refer it to Aquaman. I won't say way better, but it's better.
Yeah, like and to be fair, like again, even though I mentioned the different scenes and stuff, and I got you to see exactly what scene I was talking about, Danny, like
Uh-huh.
you're talking about a movie that has 20 main characters versus one. But check this out though, Danny. Because there has been a discussion on what's better, Aquaman and Endgame, I think that speaks more to the quality of Aquaman than Endgame in the sense that for Aquaman being one hero compared to a movie with a bunch of them, there's worse conversations and comparisons. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So at the end of the day, I'm like, hey man, the fact that you can go, no, this was way better, and this is why. I'm like, it's already not a fair comparison, but
Uh,
there are things in Aquaman as to where it would make a good conversation to do the back and forth and stuff like that. So that's cool that DC can do it like that. It speaks to the caliber of their characters. Like you don't have to have all that. You just got to tell a B story. They got plenty of them. They just got to do it.
I got you. I'm with you. Then George says Endgame had many plot holes. Okay, I'm gonna read what plot hole says because I like to see. I don't see the plot holes, but we're gonna see what the definition of plot hole. Plot hole is in fiction. A plot hole or plot holes or plot error is a gap of inconsistency in a storyline that goes against the flow of logic established by the story's plot. Such inconsistencies include things as illogical, unlikely, or impossible events. So tell me your example of a plot hole in Endgame.
I think he is talking about the same thing that a lot of people have talked about, which is the whole time traveling aspect. Because man, they the whole thing with Loki escaping with the Tesseract, Tony Cap interacting with himself, and Tony interacting with his father, and then Captain America at the end of the movie messing with Peggy Carter, messing up that whole timeline. I'm like, first of all, Cap, while you smiling and handing your shield to Sam Wilson and everything, you know, you're talking about if you remove Captain America, so many people would die. Who would stop Hydra? There would be no shield without Captain America. There are so many things that are compromised just because he wanted to get his dick wet. I'm just saying, Danny. So I think that's what he's talking about because
I
based
thought
on what
he went back after all that had happened. He went back during the time when
he did. Yeah, he definitely went back when all that was done, but because he said he lived a full life, right? This is bad because that wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to live a full life. He was supposed to just go and return the stones. And even Professor Hope, he told him just to come right back. And he did way more than that, Danny. And we don't know the full extent of how much stuff he messed up. But I remember after the movie, I had at least like 10 people in that theater listening to me talk to my friend about how Cap, while he got to have his little happy ending, he might have screwed everybody else over. Now we got the multiverse of madness. We got to see what's happening with that Loki show. I think people don't fully understand what happened with those Avengers until we get this material coming up. It's going to be a rude awakening, Danny, for a lot of people.
yeah, but I will say in the time travel's defense, and I'm going to reference Back to the Future. The professor told Marty that there were certain things he couldn't do. Not interact with this. He couldn't be seen by this. He couldn't bet on betting events, that kind of stuff because it would change the future. They didn't have those same restrictions back then. They knew that there was never anything that said you can't interact with each other, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. But they knew that, and the ancient one, I think they did the best example of it. That if you pluck this right here, it'll send a second time stream. I understand the Loki thing because Kevin Feige was setting up. Well, if we look at the movie as this is true canon, then of course it's going to mess it up. But Kevin Feige was looking down the road and say, "Look, I'm setting up Loki show, so there's got to be some kind of way where we can get the Loki show at. So that's going to be a whole different tunnel we're going to explore by him going taking a
Well,
tesseract and popping up. Uh,
because because you mentioned the ancient one, I gotta say this. The only reason as to why that interaction with her and Hulk was okay is because with her powers, she's able to see into the future and she can carefully do specific things to prevent the timeline from being messed up in a way that someone that doesn't have her foresight into the distant future, they cannot predetermine that. There's no way that they would know.
Okay, but
And to where she knew.
how would the Hulk know that?
Well, here's the thing, like the Hulk, he had no idea what he was talking about. That was all experimental. And I noticed that when he
Yeah.
was mentioning the whole,
No, I'm saying,
different things to do with time traveling, he didn't mention the Flash, Danny, because the Flash is a perfect example of what you should not be doing. Now, it's funny that Marvel don't like to mention DC, but DC mentions Marvel a lot. They don't exist in their universe, but they be dropping the Spider-Man stuff. You've seen the Arrowverse. They mention plenty of Marvel characters, but that's interesting that Hulk didn't mention that because I'm like, look, you don't know what you're doing. This is your first time. This is merely speculation.
no.
And that,
What I'm saying, when he was talking to, when it was him and Rhodey and Ant-Man
mm,
in the room, and
mm,
I think Hawkeye, and it was,
mm,
and Hawkeye was about to try the machine for the first time. It was
mm,
like, and they were referencing Back to the Future. Hulk was like, "No, it don't work like that. If you come back here to this spot, then this gonna happen. It's not gonna be blah 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 blah." And then because I think if I remember correctly, what he was saying, why don't we just go back to where Thanos was a baby? And he's like, it don't work like that. When you go back here, then this becomes your past or this becomes your future, and blah 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 blah, and that kind of crazy stuff. So he seemed like he had a definite grasp of how time works.
and that's fair, but I'll tell you this though, that still only comes up to speculation because he had never done it before. There's no way that he would know how something would function if you've never done it. It would be like Eobard trying to teach Barry about what to, the Speed Force and what to do and what not to do, and he had no experience. There's no way that you would know that without having the experience. And we saw that Hawkeye when they first did that first run around, he was gonna go interact with his family. And notice how he got snatched up right before that happened. That was another thing that they were trying to hint at towards the audience, like you're not supposed to be doing that. Like these characters think that they got a handle on it. Sure, they came up with the equipment with Tony to have the means to do it, but they don't understand how much trouble they're causing. And the Loki situation, even though we know that it's set up the show now and stuff like that, that's true. But that's only just a part of the reason as to why you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Like even if we go to the comic book storyline, there was only one time that there was an element of time travel, and that was at the end. You had Adam Warlock use the snap to bring everybody back to life that Thanos had killed, and then he used the gauntlet to go into the future to check on Thanos to see if he was a menace. And then that's when we saw Thanos was on his farm and he was sipping the tea. That's how that's supposed to end. Because you don't, and then when, and just to solidify that, Adam Warlock came back to the present, right? Every single, like all the Celestials, Galactus, Eternity, they were all there. And Adam Warlock was going to use that gauntlet, Danny, to get rid of them because he thought they were a problem. They completely disabled the gauntlet and made it as useful as a box of cereal because they thought, like, look, we saw what Thanos did. Why should we believe you're not going to do the same thing? He's like, well, I've been fighting against Thanos and I did the whole time traveling thing. You did what? You can't be messing with the timeline. I don't care what you think you know, and you just going to do specific things. It always has a ripple effect. There's going to be a hiccup that you're not expecting. We saw that a lot, to Tony with his father, Loki escaping with the Tesseract, Captain America fighting each other, and Cap in the elevator when he told the Hydra people, when he said, Hail Hydra, that is a full blown comic book in an alternate timeline when Captain America works for Hydra. That was like one of the most troubling scenes, Danny. I was like, and I wasn't the only one. It was me, my friend, and there was a couple people in the audience. So I only assume that they must have read the comics or something because there was only a couple of us that had that. Oh shit, because everybody else was kind of laughing and they thought it was cool, but I'm like, no, 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 that's bad. That actually leads to something. Like Danny, this is all bad, man. Like I
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It kind of because people don't have a knowledge of the combos that you have. I laughed at it 'cause I thought it was funny. I thought it was sarcastic, kind of ironic. Why I laughed at it. I didn't know what you're saying, but I'm taking what you're saying. Um, what you're saying about it. Let me read this question. The Michonne lady ended up in the portal. How? She didn't get turned into dust in Infinity War. How did her and Yuri meet up with T'Challa? Well, I'm assuming that when the Hulk snapped them back, if you remember, T'Challa was on Wakanda when his body disappeared. So
yeah,
I'm sure when they snapped him back and when the Hulk snapped, wished him back, that he returned to Wakanda and went back to his kingdom where his sister and the
that
show
that
lady there.
that's right. And also when the portals opened up, you have to remember that that was done by Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is the one that gathered everybody. Like Doctor Strange was in the role of what Adam Warlock, who was his name, excuse me, his name was said in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at the end. It like Doctor Strange filled the role that should have been for the Adam Warlock character that we haven't seen yet. Danny, that is still one of the most irritating things because it's like they said that he's supposed to appear in Guardians Volume 3, right?
Huh?
But here's the thing. Everybody watched Endgame. It's the highest grossing movie, all that kind of stuff. Everybody watched it. What better time than to introduce Adam Warlock than Infinity War and Endgame? Because sure, people are going to watch Guardians Volume 3 and then his name will be passed around and people will know him. But why not put him in one of the most or the most important storyline that you did for your cinematic universe? You get what I'm saying? Like it was kind of irritating for me that they didn't like now's the time to use them if you're gonna use them because after the fact, I feel like whatever they're gonna do in Guardians Volume 3 is not gonna be anywhere near as important as Endgame and Infinity War. Thanos getting the stones. I mean, they're not built up to something that important yet. So I feel like it's unfortunate that they couldn't use him in a storyline where he literally was responsible for getting everybody together to lead the fight against Thanos. That was his job. And I felt like they really cheated that character out of having that position.
Yeah, that's a good point, bro. I can't argue with you on that. I can't argue with you a bit on that. Let's see. Um, Kevin Feige sucks. He's become the next Kathleen Kennedy of Marvel. Um, I definitely disagree with that.
Oh
Um,
man, I hope not. Like Kathleen Kennedy. Here's what I'll say to that, Danny. Kevin Feige is nowhere near that yet, right? There is a possibility that if all of his decisions, now we know that he plans stuff out. He ain't no idiot. He's a genius. He established all this. It's nothing short of amazing. But if he gets on the whole, if he lets too many humans whisper in his ear, and his whole reasoning for doing a lot of projects is all agenda based and not characters first, he could start to creep down that rabbit hole and it could lead to some unfortunate things in the future if he's not careful. Like I feel like he don't want to go down that path. I'm not super concerned yet, but this whole we gonna put this character and everything that he's done to the Eternals and he's drastically changed things to make certain audience members happy. I'm like, look, Kevin, you can bring in characters. No, nobody's saying you can't, but like you got to be careful to not mess up the characters because you're so desperate to get people to like it that aren't necessarily watching. Find a natural way to do it. Don't compromise characters and story for the sake of making Bobby, Totem, and Cindy happy. Like, don't be doing that.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to slightly disagree because the difference between Kathleen Kennedy that I see and Kevin Feige is that he knows the source material. she's going on record, she's going on video, she's made a statement that there's no source material for Star Wars, which is the dumbest thing someone in her position could ever say.
Right.
Feige has a connection, and I think he is a geek at heart like we are. He knows the material, and if he doesn't know the material, I think he has enough sense, enough savvy to put people around him that does know the material. He's hooking up his wagon to John Favreau, and John Favreau knows material. I trust him completely. John Favreau is the one that brought Marvel back. So as long as he put people around him, I say, hey, look, I know you're the boss. I know that you have the foresight, but we need to go this direction at this course because ABC 1, 2, 3 versus doing it this way because this is not going to work because of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think if you already have a vision and you already know the material, but you surround yourself with people that knows it just as well as you do, or maybe even better in some cases, that you're going to be successful. I think Kathleen Kennedy she doesn't know what she's doing for it. She don't know the source material. I think she's sometimes, and I'm not going to say this all the time.
She's just a businesswoman.
Yeah, but sometimes females in the same female counterparts seem to overcompensate because they think that they're being judged. And in a lot of cases, they are being judged more harsher, but sometimes they overcompensate or try to do stuff or try to be independent because they think that if they ask for help, they're going to be portrayed or looked upon as being weak. So I think
mistake.
Her problem too. Sometimes, if I know for a fact, if I get in the deep water and I'm starting to sink or whatever, and somebody throws me out a life raft, I'm going to reach for that life raft. I'm not going to wait till I'm down to the bottom and swallow half the damn pool, and then got to get pulled out and CPR, that kind of stuff. No, whenever that first line gets thrown to me, I'm reaching for it and I'm pulling myself to land. I don't think she's doing that. And now,
right. I agree, Danny. Like, I'm not saying that Kevin Feige is like Kathleen Kennedy. He's clearly not. Like, my only point was that I want him to be careful so he doesn't get to that. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't want him to stray away from being focused to make
we also
certain people happy.
Kevin Feige is a boss. He's not the boss. There's a lot of things I don't do at my level, but I have to answer to. I have 2 people above me.
Right. That's a good point because with Bob Iger, I think he left or whatever. But like, sure, like Kevin Feige, he runs Marvel Studios, but he does have to answer to the chairman. But the thing is,
sometimes you got to pick your battles.
So that's true.
The battles that he picked would be more fan friendly than agenda friendly.
Well, that's true to a point, though, Danny. Like, I like that is fan friendly, but I don't want the agenda part to be larger than the fan friendly.
I hope that when he picks his battle, I hope that he's picking a battle that will benefit and be more fan friendly versus being more agenda friendly.
Right. Okay. Got you. Yeah. Because we on the same page then. Because I'm not trying to I'm not trying to paint them in the same category. They're not. Kathleen Kennedy, she's a businesswoman. She makes a lot of poor decisions. She doesn't listen to fans. Kevin Feige makes good decisions, but sometimes, like when he came out on the stage and he said, Captain Marvel is one of our most popular characters at Marvel. I'm like, that's a lie. There is literal history to show that is a lie. Her comic books have failed time and time again.
Come in and say Captain Marvel is one of our most poorest selling comic books. I mean, he'd be stupid to say that.
Yeah, you're right. Like now that to that point, it was smart for him to say what he said. But I'm like, come on, Kevin, who are you talking to, man? Like, it was one of those. I wasn't mad at him, but
I know because it made $1 billion, it backed up what he said.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. We are talking about the character. Like, okay, he said what he said, and then the movie came out right before Endgame. And they said you had to watch it before Endgame. People took Kevin Feige's words, one of the most popular Marvel character. He's saying this is the most powerful Marvel character in MCU. Like, people, they had to go see that. That's too many check marks, right?
Not to mention,
So
if you didn't go see it and you saw the movie, the way he brought her in at the end made you want to go see it if you didn't see it. So
that's true. So like as a businessman, it's smart. It's hella smart. I'm not mad at him at all for trying to make the most money he can. I get that. That's completely fine. But because of what he said, I get Bobby Totem and Cindy trying to talk to me about how she can beat every single Marvel character because of what Kevin Feige said. And I have to shut that shit down every time because I'm like, he just said that to sell the movie. She is nowhere near the league of a Hulk or a Thor or a Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch when she's at full power. There are so many characters that would wreck her. Rogue whooped her ass in the comics and took her powers, Danny. I hope we see that, by the way, when we get Rogue. I want to see her beat up Captain Marvel.
well, didn't Captain Marvel get her powers a different way than she did in the movies?
Yes, in the comics, you had Marvel, who in the movie was some old white lady, which died in a couple of seconds. That pissed me off. I'm like, not only did you gender swap, but the character, I didn't even know that was Marvel until it was said. I'm like, what? I'm like, Marvel is the one that trained her, and then you had a machine that exploded and it spliced their DNA together, and that's how Captain Marvel got her powers.
Yeah.
So they really messed up that Marvel character. People should be talking about how awesome Marvel is. Instead, is you got people like, who was that? What character? They don't even remember. That hurts my heart that people don't remember Marvel because Marvel was whack in the movie.
I got you.
So yeah, man, that movie has so much potential to just be awesome as hell. The things were there, and they just messed up the
I
execution.
won't classify it as awesome, but it don't stink as bad as people say. I can watch it again. So
I can watch it again too, Danny. I mean, you saw it. I had the Blu-ray, but it's like I because of the knowledge that I have, I can't help but notice all of the fails throughout the movie as a comic book movie, as a Captain Marvel movie. Because the movie itself, if I were to be like most of my friends, they don't know the stuff. You know, you probably think it's an all right movie. You might even think it's a good movie because you have nothing to really to compare it to. But with me, I'm like, man, this is just screaming at me like, look at all the stuff they messed up. And they even messed up the MCU continuity at the end. The
yeah.
whole Nick Fury seeing the plane and it had the first Avenger and all that nonsense. I'm like, that what are you doing? It was completely focused upon for the first phase that Captain America is the first Avenger and that Nick Fury came up with the name and presented it to the government, which they rejected time and time again until we get to the first Avengers movie when they had no choice but to listen to Nick Fury. It was never said once about no Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel. They completely messed up the continuity just to make that character important, Danny.
Hey, I respond to people in chat. Chris, go to the bar. Have one for me. DQ says, "Okay, I was still thinking they were on the other world. In the other world, I don't know what you're talking about on that. Oh, you talking about with Black Panther? Sure, you know when the Hulk brought them all back, they all went back to where they were. The snapped them at. He was snapped on Wakanda, so he got back up with his sister and the other lady. That's how he came back. Hit the like button, people. Thank you, man. Yeah, hit that like button. The Reaper says, I'm not excited that X-Men and Doctor Doom under Feige's hand. More afraid, if to be honest. I don't know why, because there hasn't been one movie other than Thor 2 that Feige has laid an egg on.
Okay, I'll say this. As we discussed before, Danny, MCU is great and all that. I own every single MCU movie on Blu-ray, and I have seen every single one multiple times in the theater. The Incredible Hulk is the only one that I don't remember watching in the theater. I don't know why that didn't happen, but there must be a reason that I just something got in the way or something. But anyway, there's only a few of those movies that stand out. Like Kevin Feige in the context of the MCU, I'm like, what I propose is this. I dare you to try to make an X-Men movie that's better than X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, Logan, or any of the Deadpool movies, or the Gifted TV show or the Legion show about Charles Xavier's son. I challenge him to do better than any of the stuff I just named. I guarantee you he's not going to be able to do it. But what I do picture is he's going to give us a good X-Men movie, but I don't see him in any of the stuff that I just named.
Who can't do that?
Kevin Feige. Like, I don't see him better than those.
Endgame. Endgame is the highest grossing movie of all time.
No. I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about the quality of the movie and what it contains.
Okay, you just
because money-wise,
hour. Correct me if I'm wrong. The last hour Endgame was the best superhero movie you ever saw.
Not really. Because look, if I compare Endgame as a whole, to me, I'm like, it's not a compelling movie. It's just a cool movie. It's a really cool comic book movie. As you said, you got the scenes, you got Cap catching Mjolnir, you got Hulk interacting with the Ancient One, you got the end battle, you got the time traveling stuff, you got Cap saying, Hell Hydra. These are all cool moments, but the compellingness of like something like Logan or or the second X-Men movie or something like or the compellingness of the Gifted or Legion, like I don't know if you've seen the Legion show about Charles Xavier's son, but that is some of the most intelligent writing I've seen on any comic book material. It is nothing but thought-provoking and compelling. You got Charles Xavier's son against the Shadow King, Amal Farouk, and they have a telepathic battle that physically manifests in front of them, and that's how they fight. That's how powerful they are. I'm like, I haven't seen anything for the most part in the MCU that is compelling. What they have is very. What'd you say, Danny?
Didn't that show get canceled?
It did, and that's because of the whole Fox Disney merger, and I was actually pissed about that. Because the fan in me wants to see what Kevin Feige can do with the characters, but Sony, like Fox, they have a different flavor for their movies. The MCU movies, they're very formulaic. They often have the same color palettes. There's only a couple of villains or films that stand out. I don't go to the MCU for compelling stories. That's either something that Fox has done with X-Men or maybe certain Spider-Man films from Sony or DC stuff. MCU is like you remember when Martin Scorsese was comparing it to like an amusement park with the roller coasters? Like, I didn't agree with everything that he said, but I got what he was saying about that. It's fun. You get on it, you high, and you're like, yeah. And, you and me be high-fiving Cap catching Mjolnir. But that has the coolness factor to get people there. I get it, but that's not compelling. That's not like Joker or anything or Logan or something like that. Those are very different. Less people have seen those, and those haven't made anywhere near as much money as Endgame, but that storytelling is just so damn compelling. You like, this is a great movie. Endgame to me is just another really, really good comic book movie. It didn't do anything to transcend the genre where I said, these people deserve Oscars, the whole nine. It just did what it was supposed to do for that. That's what I'm saying.
I got you. I'm not mad at that, what you're saying.
I mean, but make no mistake, though, I wholeheartedly believe, Danny, that we're going to get a trailer eventually, and I'm going to be like, Danny, did you see that X-Men trailer? I'm pretty sure it's going to be the coolest thing in the world, Danny. We're going to be talking about, did you see Jean Grey? Did you see Cyclops? They probably going to look just like the comic book characters, and I'm going to lose my mind, Danny. But check this out, though, kind of what I just said. Isn't that like, will we really be surprised by that? Let's say they pick Henry Cavill's Wolverine, and then remember how you said if they do like the stuff with his face and give him the canines and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised by that because we've grown accustomed to it. Kevin Feige is going to make somebody like me like the Fantastic Four, and I can't stand their comic books because I think their comic books are boring and poorly written. But I guarantee you, when that movie come out, I would be surprised if I watch and go, Danny, I don't like this movie. I'm probably going to say, Danny, I don't like the Fantastic Four, but this movie is amazing, and let me tell you why. But that won't be surprising because I expect that. We expect a certain quality from the MCU. Even like something like Iron Man 3, which I did not enjoy at all. The movie has a certain quality to it. It made so much money. So many people love Iron Man. They're going to support him. You can bank on the quality that people going to love these movies. These characters are going to be household names. There's an expectation for the MCU to where how much longer can it be more special if you do things that we know that you're going to do? We know the movies are going to be good. When Black Widow come out, if they're like, oh, the highest opening in the last 2 years and it makes 900 million, we're not going to be surprised by that. That's just the track record. We're expecting that. But if like an X-Men movie from Fox or something from Sony or something from DC, that's more surprising because nobody's seeing that. Their formulas are so drastically different. You're like, what are they going to do now? We can have a whole stream about what the next DC movie is going to be. And guess what? We can all be wrong by the time we watch it. But we have an MCU discussion. We're going to get a lot of that stuff right. A lot of our predictions are going to be right. It's only going to go so many ways. Mahershala Ali is probably going to kill it as Blade. I mean, we could kind of see a lot of that stuff coming, is what I'm saying.
You're right. I agree with what you're saying on that one. Christopher says the MCU is building up better than anyone ever has. Give it time. And he says again,
give it time. Like we don't need to give it time. It's already it's the MCU. I mean, they're just 10 years. What you mean give it time? Like
there was a question back here I saw earlier. Let's see if I can get back to it. It was, is the comic book movies running out of steam? I don't think so. I think it's so much untapped storylines out there. There's so much source material. They do it. As long as you get a good storyline, a good plot, special effects are getting better and better each year rolls around. We might start seeing 3D. I'm reading this, and soon, I'm going to say within the next 10 years, not even going to be going to theaters anymore. They're talking about being able to, like we see these big wrestling WWE events and these big boxing events. Movies is going to go to pay-per-view. You can be able to see movies opening night at your home. Now, whether or not you want to pay this $40 or $50, whatever they're going to charge you, it's going to be up to you. But if, just say, they're going to do Avengers 6, and it's going to star Galactus or something, and you got 6 of your buddies that's diehard MCU fans, and they say, we're going to put this on here opening night for $59.99. You know, 6 buddies, and you divide that up, $60, 6 buddies, that's $10 each. Who's not going to pay $10 to sit at the comfort of their home to watch? So that's where it's going to. And if it gets that convenient, I don't think, as long as the story is good, I don't think that we don't have stomach fatigue. I don't think we're losing steam. I don't see it. Especially Crisis, CW. DCU should thank Crisis. I think CW saved DCU because on Crisis, they totally retconned the whole universe. And now they can start off from scratch, and it can be
well. Here's the thing, though, Danny. Like they can go from scratch, but they don't have to because of what the ending entails. It allows those other universes to do what they need to do. Like Titans is no longer the same universe as Swamp Thing and Doom Patrol. They're now separate. It allows you to, tell the stories that you want to tell. But if you want to cross stuff over and stuff, you have now opened more doors, right?
Yeah.
Because like
on the latest flash, it said it was over 3 billion things that changed since Crisis.
Correct. It was like 3.725 trillion different changes. I was like, damn.
man. Because
Oh man.
that episode, it took away one of Flash's most feared enemies. I don't know how they gonna. I don't know. I liked it, but I was like, well, are we gonna see Grodd?
Uh, uh,
Because
uh,
now they seem to be on the same page.
no, no,
That Flash Grodd was awesome. I don't know how
it-
much money they spent for that particular episode, but it was awesome.
that was stupid expensive. I'm telling you that right now. Like whatever because they have a specific budget for each season, but I'm pretty sure a lot of that money went into that episode because that was like the longest fight scene that I excuse me that I've seen with like, you know, CGI, full CGI characters. And I'll tell you this, Danny, in the comics, what happened is, you know, like how when Grodd said he wanted to go back to Gorilla City, that was the only place that he felt like he was home and he was
Uh-huh.
free. In the comics, all the gorillas of Gorilla City, they get in contact with the Speed Force, Danny. And what happens is it speeds up their evolution and it makes them faster and stronger and all that stuff. But Grodd actually spent more time interacting with the Speed Force, and his evolution jumped up like crazy. He was now more advanced than Solivar and all the other apes. He was just on his own plane and shit. And eventually, he ends up taking the Speed Force from Barry Allen. So you saw how, you know, he got a taste for it and he's like, oh, this is amazing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think,
I think that's going to open him up because he's going to be like,
that's exactly why I mentioned that to you, because they may not do that, but I wanted to tell you that because that might be what
I
happens at
get
some
that vibe. That came to my. I said when Barry kind of disintegrated into him and became electricity, and he said,
mm-hmm.
you have all my powers and the knowledge of how to use them. I was like,
Right.
might be dirt. That might be a double-edged sword there because once we
Mm-hmm.
use that power,
Yeah.
it's
Now what they might do, it could go in the sense of, you know, he ends up being bad because he steals Barry's speed force and stuff like that, and he has to get rid of him to try to maintain that. But it could go, you know, Grodd just wants the speed force for himself, and then he doesn't revert back to being evil, but he just becomes an ally. Like it, but he would now be the equivalent of a speedster, but he'd be a gorilla speedster. I could see them go either way. It just depends. So, you know.
Yeah.
But imagine how that would look though, Daddy. Like
That's crazy.
imagine Barry running like how we see him do, and Grodd is running next to him. Wouldn't that look crazy as hell, Daddy?
Would we running on all fours, or would we doing like that?
Oh man, that'd be so that'd be a meme, Danny. Like
Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but that would be funny. Would you guys like Wesley Snipes as Whistler?
remember I was talking about that, Danny.
Yeah.
Remember, but then I mentioned the whole Jamal Fari thing.
Yeah, I like that. I like Jamal Farley thing better than the Whistler idea.
Yeah.
DQ says, how many of those stores are they willing to take a risk on, though? Man, as long as it make dollars, it's gonna make sense, bro. That's in anything.
Exactly. And unless the MCU, like, because no matter what you do, that's why I be making all these jokes like Marvel's toothbrush, Marvel's toilet seat. It could be Kevin Feige sitting in the bathroom taking a shit, and you can have the intense music, tone, tone, and then it could zoom in on his face, tone, 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 and then you see, and then it says Marvel Studios, whatever, and everybody's gonna buy their tickets because they got the trust, right? Like, you remember I was talking about the quality. Nobody is going to look at, no matter if they know the character or not, nobody's going to watch a Marvel Studios trailer and go, I don't know, the quality of no one's doing that. Even if they're not sure, they still going to show up by default because it's the MCU. It's Marvel. Just like I believe Morbius, that's gonna make some money. If Venom can do it, Morbius. I don't know how much Morbius is gonna make, but I don't picture it flopping. I think it'll be just fine. It'll be
It's
fine.
gonna be all right.
Yeah,
DQ says, what comic story or art would you like to see adapted to a film? Not
everything.
necessarily a comic book, but I definitely want to see Thundercats done right.
Oh man, Danny. When did I have that damn conversation? It must have been like 12 years ago. Damn near. I remember I was saying like what you want to do is you want to give the like you don't want to do no CGI stuff. You want to do like get the aesthetics right and have it to where they have the makeup and it looks scary. You know like how they deal with Michael Jackson with the Thriller with the werewolf kind of stuff. You
Yeah,
want to have that all be practical. You want it to look terrifying and you want them to look beast because if people can see it and it's not CGI, that will deliver a certain impact that you won't have the same way if you do just CGI and then you got the actors moving. Like you need to have it feel as real as possible, in my opinion.
yeah. If they could do something like kind of like maybe the Lion was in the Wizard of Oz, you know what I'm talking about? Kind of.
Right, right. That's like that's what I'm saying. Like have it to where because what you don't want is for people to be taken out like how they did with the recent Ninja Turtle movies, damn trash. Like, don't do that shit. Like, make sure. Like, what I like about the old school ones, especially that first live action Ninja Turtle movie, is that they look real. It was people in suits, but they made them look good. Like, and if you
Yeah.
got money behind it, you can make it look even better. But have them be there, and then you can use CGI for like,
You're gonna
when
have
they
to
put
use CGI for the Sword of Omens.
exactly. Yeah. And maybe the fantastical sort of
Yeah,
environments that they're in. But the
yeah,
Thundercats themselves, when they show the teaser, they can't be looking like no cats,
yeah,
Danny. Like how the Cats movie looks horrible and that movie is trash. This is a bad movie. Like you don't want people referencing that. That means that the movie has already failed. If you got people like, haha, Danny, did you see the Thundercats? It looked like the Cats movie, but they just got armor on. You don't want none of that shit, Danny. None
yeah.
of that.
And they're gonna have a real cat slayer. They need to do that right. Spend the money in that. Spend the
That's
money
right.
in the Thunder Tank. And they got to spend the money in on Mum pyramid. They got to do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
If they could do that and spend money on his crypt and stuff and his transformation sequence, it could be good.
Yeah, I need because that first impression is so important. Like when you show the Thundercats as a group, the thing people need to be saying is like that's cool, that's beast, and people that haven't seen that show, for whatever reason, then they can be, oh, what is that? Like that looks awesome. You want those kinds of reactions.
Yep.
Because we're not gonna be able to convince people, Danny. Like if the Thundercats look stupid, it's gonna be hard for us to try to convince them that it's amazing and they ain't gonna believe us, Danny. They're
Oh, you
not
know
gonna.
that story gonna be so compelling and so awesome. You'd be like, damn.
Yeah. Hey man, if they can make a compelling Thundercats movie, that'd be insane. Cause I picture the best thing we can hope for is that it's a cool movie. But if you make that shit compelling, I'm like, damn, all right.
Yeah. Last one, bro. I'm getting tired. Do the guys think Wesley Snipes? Do you guys think Wesley Snipes will be in the Blade reboot? Because I hope so. I
I
think it
think
would
so.
be very, very smart for them to be in there with Marshall Ali, Terrence. We
Hmm.
discussed this on an earlier stream, and he was laying down the stuff in the comic books, and I'm like, man, I can see that right now.
Yeah, man. Like it and
Teaching,
and
that'd be what's up.
and Danny, when we get that trailer and stuff, and you see the layouts and stuff, if it is anything along the lines of what I was saying, because you remember I was laying it all out, like man, you gotta remind people that I was saying that because nobody gonna believe me. They're like, Terrence, you didn't say all that. So I'm like, all right, man, like
But she did. He talked about how this guy trained when Blade was born. He was able to get him from his mother because his mother was bit by a vampire at birth. So the vampire power came into Blade's body, but as Blade was having troubles transitioning and stuff and dealing with his different powers and abilities, this guy took him under his wing and trained Blade. And I can't think of the guy's name. Tell the people the guy's name.
Jamal Fari.
Jamal Fari is the guy that trained Blade in the comics. And Terrence, the way he broke it down, I can't remember what stream that was on, but if it goes the way that Terrence broke it down, it would be very, very cool movie. And I definitely think Wesley Snipes could pull it off. And it would pay tribute and homage to him because he kind of gonna be passing the torch to the new Blade. That look, man, I trained you, I showed you the ropes, blah blah blah. It could be both metaphorical and actual. So I think
right. And I didn't say this before, but like if Wesley Snipes is not in it in any way, like no cameo, no nothing, it would make me smile if, after we get the trailer and stuff like that and the critics seen it, I'm pretty sure they would ask Wesley Snipes if he's seen the movie and what he thinks of it, right? Like if Wesley Snipes tells us that he loves the movie, we got to see it. I feel like that would put a smile on my face and give me extra enthusiasm to see it, even though I'm going to see it regardless, because it's like, yo, if Wesley Snipes is giving it his blessing, I feel like that's got to mean something. I don't know what it means, but it's got to mean something.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you 1,000% on that, brother. And saying that, we have been on for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So that is 3 hours and 20 minutes of your 10-hour stream. That's probably the best I'm gonna give you, bro, because I am and I gotta go on another stream with Robert at 11. So Lord, that's gonna be something hard. So
tell him I said what's up, Danny.
I will. That's gonna be about an hour. Take a power nap. I hope. Get rested. Get some more fluids in me because I'm suffering from this cold. But I definitely enjoyed it, bro. We're gonna have to do this again. I'm gonna put another poll up, and I'm gonna talk on the polls. That's what I think I'm gonna do. Sundays this time, if you're not busy, I'm gonna put up a poll question. That'll be what we start off with, and then we'll just let this kind of do organically like it did today, man. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed you being on the show. Like I said, we're gonna try and do this once a week if we can do it. I didn't mind.
Hey man, that'd be cool, Danny, because in a way, this could kind of be like our show together kind of thing, like that
works for me. Works for me. We'll come up with a name, the Odd Couple or something like that. Something
right.
Cool. But man, I enjoyed it. We'll get together on text, and man, I don't mind doing this. We can do it every Sunday. That's cool with me. My schedule is pretty free on Sundays. But again, thank you for subscribing to my channel. Before we get off, Terrence, please tell the people where they can find you at, sir.
Oh yeah, what's going on, humans? My name is Terrence. I'm from the Tremaine Terrence channel, and if you go over there are more than 8,000 videos that consist of movie reviews for many, many different TV shows, a lot of different topics about comic books. And if you're wondering about, man, that's like a lot of videos and stuff. Well, I put together more than 120 playlists. So if you go through the playlist, that I feel like that'd be easier to kind of navigate through the channel, and then you could kind of binge what you want. Like, for example, you go over to the movie reviews. There's over 1,000 movie reviews in there if that's what you're into. So I have my opinions, and I'm always honest, and sometimes humans find it distasteful, but I feel like, that's the best way to go. I feel it's better to be honest than to, just say what people want to hear for the sake of developing a fan base. Like, that's not how I roll. So if you're into that kind of stuff and you're into just, lots of different topics, then go over to Tremaine Terrence channel and see what you like.
Good deal. And I am Danny. Comment Chat is my channel. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do what they call the Chaotic Conversation. Tomorrow, please come if you can. The question is super, and Terrence is going to be on there as well. I'm going to tell you all the question. We discussed it briefly today, but we didn't go into it too much. But tomorrow we're going to go into it very deep. The question that we're going to be discussing tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel is Thanos is the bad guy again, but instead of the Avengers, this time he's facing the Justice League. Does he have a harder or easier time collecting the Infinity Stones? Does Thanos defeat them as easily as he did the Avengers? If so, and he makes the snap, do they discover and master time travel like the Avengers did, or do they take a different approach? Be able to back up your opinions. So we're gonna have an in-depth discussion tomorrow night. Those questions I just asked. It's gonna be myself, Tremaine, Chris Knight, Sean Stackhouse, and Maz Mama Bear. So please, if you get opportunity, please check me out. Always, please leave a thumbs up. Hit the like button. Please leave comments. I respond to all comments. I check them every day. If you send me a comment, I'll try to respond back to you, say something back to you. And also, please hit your notification bell because I don't want you to miss any material that I upload. Again, Terrence, thank you, man. We're going to try and do this every Sunday, like I said, or whenever day our schedule allows. But please check out my channel because I do, like I said, I make polls every week. This poll this week was, the question on the poll was, Henry Cavill. It's rumored that he's supposed to be the new Wolverine. Would you like to see him in this particular role or not? Yes or no is the question. Probably about 40 something percent or 50, maybe 50%, 50 something percent said no, and 40 something percent said yes. I'm on the side of yes. I want to see him. Terrence is on the side of no on that particular poll question. But please go over there, vote, let me see your opinion, and leave a comment. Again, thanks for supporting our channels. We appreciate it. Peace.